Hello, friends. This is Wait, no, Pulse Glazer. I forget my name sometimes when I'm doing the hello, friends. Roy was Sleepy Bear. So Roy is Sleepy Bearing. He's editing and gritting his teeth at me saying that right now. Instead, I am joined by everyone's favorite friendly Canadian tech guy. It is Nick, the Greek Geek. How you doing, Nick?
I am doing very well, sir. I am doing very well. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for being patient while I spent half an hour walking my dogs.
So every time Nick has to do anything with me, he's like, let me walk my dogs first. And then 2.5 hours later, he messages me back and is like, by the way, I mean, it's fair because he lives in the absolute Arctic. So like whenever he walks outside, he has to de-thaw himself in order to come home and get on whatever call we're having.
As a reminder, I live 2 hours north of Seattle, so it is currently snowing for Gregor right now. The snow is almost gone for me, so take that for what you will. The west coast of Canada, as much as I thought as a kid it would be like Wolverine's world where it was snow everywhere, it's mostly not. It's actually just very green here because it rains all the time.
So just so you know, when he says I take out my dogs, he means that like his sleigh dogs, and then he loses 2 every time. So we're all clear. We are joined by 2 wonderful special guests today. The first of them is a man who has been here multiple times. He is now a regular, the best mustache in Marvel Snap, and the most prolific deck builder in the entire game. It is the great Ika. How you doing, Ika?
I am doing so well. Thank you for having me again. I'm really excited to talk about this stuff. This kind of topics are my favorite, OTAs and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Ika, how can our friends find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Ika_MTS. That's where I am mostly. You can also find me on BlueSky, Ika-M. But yeah, there you go.
Sure. You're like me. You have 18 different names on every platform. Do you ever get yelled at about that by people?
Yeah. I'm not very consistent with my name.
No, me neither. I don't give a shit. Like, you like me, you'll find me. We are also joined by someone I'm ridiculously, I'm so excited I can't even speak. Ridiculously excited to have on. It's a Marvel Snap YouTuber who, as far as I know, hasn't really interacted with much of the larger community, but I love his videos. I watch his videos all the time. I think they're absolutely great. Please welcome D4re Plays. How you doing, D4re?
Oh, if I can figure out the mute button there. I'm doing good. Excited to be here. Honestly, I've been listening to this podcast since I started playing Marvel Snap, so this is honestly super surreal for me and a huge honor to honestly be on here today. I'm super, really excited to kind of go through everything with you guys. Yeah.
I am really genuinely happy to have you on. I'm a fan. So, D4re, how could our friends find you?
So most people can find me on YouTube. It's D4re Plays, which someone beat me to the D4re with an A, so it's D4re D4re Plays. And then occasionally, I don't stream a lot, but if I do, I am on Twitch at its_D4re.
Cool. Welcome to the show. Now, before we go forward, first, I would like to note, and we record this live on Twitch, on twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. You could be listening to this on a podcast app where you can subscribe. Please leave a nice 5-star review. Or you could be finding this on YouTube at SnapJudgeGlazer. Please hit that sub button there too. But the chat live on Twitch has noticed that D4re has the waviest hair, while Ika has the waviest mustache. And now we're just in wavy heaven. It's like, oh God, I'm going to make a view from the bridge reference and no one's going to get it. So let's just move on. If you are otherwise interested in following, I write an article every single day on every single weekday on Marvel Snap Zone. I have to be careful when I say every single day because every single day on the YouTube comes out a video. And so please do check us out. I work real hard to make an awful lot of what I hope is very good content. Nikki, pretend you're going to stream and tell us how to find you.
You can find me on Twitch at Nick the Greek Geek. Otherwise, I am either in Glazer's stream or everybody else's stream if they happen to be on while I am awake. If I'm on my phone, who knows? I'm somewhere. I will be there, and I do plan on getting back to streaming. That is my goal. I swear it. I know I say that every time. Maybe that'll just be my running joke now, is that I'm going to be back to streaming at some point, but I do plan on it. I just have to... I got distracted with tinkering with computers, okay? Leave me alone.
I would like it noted that Nick this time. I was going to make fun of somebody, and I was like, Ika. Sorry, my bad. So Nick has been on this podcast like 3 times in the past 2 months or so, month and a half or so. He's also been on my stream 2 or 3 times, which means he has been on my stream infinitely, not like 100 times, not a million, infinitely more than he has streamed, because he has streamed exactly 0 times in that time. Just a note. So this is me putting pressure on so he actually does the damn thing, because he's really good at it, so he should.
Thank you, Glazer. I appreciate it. It's easy to be a guest, though. Like, being a guest is so much less. You don't have to, like, be on the same level. It's much easier to just be. See, Dare gets it. It's just easy.
Yeah. Tell me about it. All right. Like, Roy, come host. All right. We are going to kick it off as we do every single week, talking about the new card, who is Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. I just got home from seeing Captain America, where I saw a Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross who had sadly no mustache. It is a 2/2, Series 5, 6,000 tokens. When your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, draw a card with 10 or more power. Dare, what you think about Ross?
I actually did the content creator sacrilege, and I actually didn't get Ross.
Oh,
Mainly, and hear me out. I was actually on the Ross train early on. I was like, he's going to be a sleeper. Card draw is never a bad thing. I feel like that he's going to be someone that comes out of nowhere and people are going to be impressed by him, especially in decks like Surtur or Airshim or whatever it was. And then we got the announcement that Nebula was dropping the Series 3, and I was like, I cannot use keys on this week. And I also, after I realized that, I was like, I can't use tokens on him either, because I've seen the cards coming in March and April, and Thaddeus Ross just did not make the cut for resources. I hate to say it.
If you would like to see the cards coming in March and April, stay tuned. Ika, tell us how you also didn't buy the damn card.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you have some room on your boat, because I'm coming in because I also skipped on this card. Yeah, I like cooking. I like, you know me, and I usually try to get every card because I want to build interesting decks and share them, and et cetera, et cetera. But I just couldn't see it with this card. And then we'll get to the OTA changes now. There's all the more reason not to get this card. So yeah, I don't have much else to say about it, honestly.
Nick, did you buy Thunderbolt Ross?
I did, and I've used him in exactly one deck and completely forgot about him every time I was able to pull him. But I get every card, and I can't stop that train. I'm on that train now, and I'm the guy that just can't. But it's I think underwhelming would be a very accurate description when I've seen him played other places also.
I like him in High Evolutionary. I've played him in other decks, and I don't like him in any of them. But I think, much like Bruce Banner is actually a decent card in High Evolutionary. Not good. I'm not saying Bruce Banner's good. He's decent in High Evolutionary. I think Thunderbolt Ross is like a little bit better than decent in High Evolutionary if you're running all the 6-drops. And you have to be running like all the Hulks. Both Red Hulk and Hulk Classic want to be in hand in High Evolutionary decks. That's how they get their power. That is Thunderbolt Ross, TTR for short, makes that happen. And he has value there. Is that a card you should then get? God, no. Dare and Ika made the right choice. Just going to say it. Like, this is not a card you should get. I had hope because draw a card is good, but maybe another day. All right. We are cool. So, any final Ross thoughts?
I actually have one question on that, essentially. With High Evo, I did see him playing that. How mandatory is having Luna Snow to throw off your opponent's curve to actually make Thaddeus Ross relevant? Because to me, it seems like he needs another Series 5 card to kind of make him worth it as well.
Hope is fine. Like, you've played Wiccan, I assume, right?
No, I have not played Wiccan, no. But I'm thinking more of you want to throw your opponent off to have unspent energy. So essentially having Luna so they have that extra energy each turn would kind of make him more reliable is what I was thinking with Luna Snow.
So it's definitely the plan. But what I've learned the hard way is that when I play Wiccan, I trigger Wiccan 1 out of every 6 games because Wiccan hates me. I know that's not Ika's experience. He triggers Wiccan every game. I've watched him on stream. It's like that's his best friend. But I never trigger Wiccan. When I trigger Wiccan, it's like cause for celebration and dancing, and I'm snapping and I'm staying to lose 8 no matter what, because God, it finally happened. But because I never hit Wiccan, I know that it's really, really hard to play on curve every turn.
Sure.
And in that Evo deck, I only need it to hit once. I don't need it to hit at all sometimes, right? But like if it hits once, it's done its job because now I have two 6/10s. And that's honestly what the deck really needs. Because you can either go the pass turn into She-Hulk and then another Hulk, or you can do 1 turn of Red Hulk, 1 turn of other card of Green Hulk. And then you're totally fine, right? Like you're just dropping 20 power that way. each turn. And that works perfectly fine too. So it doesn't super duper matter. Although I would not suggest you play it without Hope as a replacement for.
Sure.
Further Thad thoughts, or are we good with this extraordinarily boring card? All right.
His animation's cool. Like the animation of the little like drop is yeah. That's sure.
Yeah. I mean, look, they nailed the animation and the variants are really good. But whatever. All right. Let's move on to the subject that's going to take us a whole lot of time. We got a real big OTA today. I've heard people like, that's it. And I'm like, what? Do you not? What? Let's take it from the top with Doom 2099. We're going to have to go at least a card at a time for the first few of these. Doom 2099 becomes a 4-3 and the bots go to 4-1. We're going to kick this one off with Ika.
Yeah, so this one was, I think, expected. Even if you actually are really tuned into the OTA stuff, this was a change that was, I think, planned to be in the last OTA, but they got rid of that last minute. But then, Sam Wilson comes out, and I think he kind of pushes that ongoing stuff a little bit up top, and then the Doom 2099 also just kind of pushes up a little bit, right? So the reason for this nerf is obviously because it's not only a good deck, and it's a deck that I used and I climbed a lot with in top 100. It's also just like very easy, right? Like you can use this deck in the lower collection levels or lower ranks. You can use it up in the top, and that's usually like where the things trigger for second dinner, where it's like, oh, okay, now we got to do something about this card. And it's a decent nerf. Like it's not. It doesn't kill the card. If you want to play an easy, just slap a bunch of cards on the board and you just don't have to really worry about outplaying your opponent, you just worry about your own game, it's still gonna do that. But it is less powerful. So I'm thumbs up for this change from me.
There.
No, I mean, I agree completely. Because, I mean, really, it just shaved a little bit off the top. And just like Iga said, I think that where I consider Doom 2099 is one of two cards that I would always suggest to lower collection level people. Someone that's coming in 1500 collection level 2000, getting their first keys, their first tokens. Like, what should I spend it on? Doom 2099 and Airshim would be my suggestions to them. So I appreciate that it was just bringing down its ceiling and not necessarily completely making it unplayable. So I really like to see that. However, I do love the change because this season it felt like, especially as you're climbing up to infinite, a lot of Doom 2099. And I think they put it perfectly in their patch notes of the best performing Scream deck had Doom 2099 at it. And to me, it's like, I don't think it should be a card that's an enhancement or a supplement to other archetypes. He should be an archetype himself as you build around. So I really like the change.
Nick?
I'm mad because now I especially can't kill his stupid self with Red Guardian now. It's always going to hit a Doombot if it ends up in the same lane. So he is harder to combat with Red Guardian. And outside of that, he doesn't really have any other counters. But I'm interested in seeing how dropping that point down will work for the Doombots, because it seems like once you start rolling with Doom, especially if you can get him out on 3, like, holy crap, like you are set, and it's very hard to defeat. I think dropping that power down, I hope, will help dim that a little bit, because yes, he's very good for lower collection level players, but I think even with the loss of a power, he's still going to be good for lower collection level players.
So if you play him on turn 4, you get a Doombot on 4, a Doombot on 5, a Doombot on 6. That's a -3 power, right? -3 power is a really, really big buff. Really big nerf to any card. He gets one of those power back himself, so it's -2 power net. I think a -2 power nerf is one of the, that's the second biggest nerf in this OTA. It is the second biggest stat change in this OTA. It's a lot. People are going to act like this is nothing, and they're wrong. And people are going to act like this kills the card, and they're wrong. This is still a very good card. It's Dare is absolutely right. This is probably one of the first 2 or 3 cards you should be targeting in series 4 or 5, assuming that you can stand to play 1 card a turn. I almost never play this card because there's nothing on earth I'd prefer less to do than just play 1 card a turn. But it is still extraordinarily powerful. it's worse, and that's good. It's harder to counter, and that's bad. I don't know. I think that this is a reasonably elegant solution, even if it's not my favorite thing that's ever happened in Snap. Any follow-ups or on to Wiccan? On to Wiccan. 4/7 to 4/6. There.
I actually have very little experience with Wiccan. He's at the top of my list. He's actually going to be the card that I picked up with tokens here recently till I saw that he was in a coming Spotlight Cash Week. But I mean, as all things, just a minor power change will probably scare some people away, but he still does what he does best with his ramp. And so if you can get him off, I still think he's a great card. So I mean, that's kind of really my only thoughts on Wiccan, unfortunately.
Ika, you're giving up on Wiccan forever?
Yeah, and that's it. It's going in the bin. No, look, one power doesn't matter. This is a card that, if one power matters, it's on Wiccan for sure as well, right? Because when you miss your curve on Wiccan, playing a 4/7 still feels decent, right? But now it's like, okay, well, now I just got to play a 4/6. It doesn't feel that great, so you start thinking about what else can I do, and that is impactful. I do not think this was that necessary. I understand why this change was made. I don't think it was necessary, but it's not. It doesn't kill the card, so I'm fine with it.
So I just want to add something to that, then we'll go to Nick. I don't think they make changes that are necessary 99.9% of the time. Like once every 4 to 5 months, they do a change that's necessary. They make changes not to, I mean, outside of the occasional Thanos, right? Not to kill decks. They make changes so that decks retain variety, so that people play other things, so that they don't get bored of the game. That's largely the function of these OTAs. Nick?
So Wiccan is probably one of my favorite cards. It's one of the first new cards that I've gotten a really good split on. I actually just got a gold with blue Kirby on him today. Thankfully, I didn't get any of the stupid rays, but that's for whatever. Whenever I would play him down, I always felt like there was something off when I was putting a 4/7 on the board, even if I missed the curve, because he's a 4/7. That is a lot of power, even if you whiff. And generally, those decks can be designed, if they're well designed, can be designed to still do okay if you miss Wiccan. Like the updated Mr. Negative decks, I find that they just work a little bit better. You miss that curve, it sucks, but you can still end up winning. I think shaving the point of power is fine. I don't know if it was that necessary. I didn't see any Wiccan decks in the top meta decks for the last while. It's a strong deck, but he's not.
It's number one. Number one deck's a Wiccan deck. It's
that's
there right
fair.
Now, I promise.
But is he the top, versus a card that is coming up that was the first, the second, the fourth, the sixth, the eighth deck? When I looked earlier, I was just like, oh. And I think we all know what card that is. It's not Sunspot. That, I think, I don't know if he was that necessary to change. He went out of the meta for a while at the end of last season. There were no decks that were top performing decks that had Wiccan in. And also, I'm looking forward to hearing about that deck because I still haven't hit Infinite because I've been lazy. So,
I mean, it was in, I don't know, a few days ago, and it'll be in tomorrow's video. Tomorrow, depending on when you're watching, is the top 10 decks in Snap. And I think I've got a really good top 10. Ika also has a 70% win rate with the current Wiccan list right now. Because I definitely don't stalk his Untapped profile or anything. He doesn't send me shit anymore. I was like, oh, you got that. Thanks. He takes too long to send it to me. All right. So I've been operating on a theory, and my theory is if you can take a power off a card and it'll still be played at almost the exact same rate, you should take a power off. If you can add a power to a card and it takes it from being unplayed to being played at a reasonable rate, then you should add a power to a card. Wiccan falls under that umbrella thought. I was much happier with Wiccan as a 4/7. He goes in decks I like, even if he doesn't like me because I didn't believe in him when he first came out. But it's probably a smart change, right? When he goes off, he just wins the game. My favorite thing in the world is when I'm playing against Wiccan players that get the Wiccan curve and haven't snapped me. I'm like, you have no business playing this deck. None whatsoever. You don't always win when you get the Wiccan curve, right? But you're supposed to snap and make me pay to try and beat your extra energy. And I think that Wiccan is utterly great. I think it's still probably an S tier card. And I think that you should have to pay a little bit of a price if you're going to get that snap condition when you don't get that snap condition. Further Wiccan follow-ups? Or are we good for the biggest change?
I don't know. I think Ika has some follow-ups. If you guys are listening to the podcast now, you are missing out by not watching it live just for Ika's reactions to Glazer's comments.
He's got such a reaction.
I personally, for me, would love to hear Ika's thoughts on this because he had some very, very passionate head shakes and head nods.
Now, I can go on a lot about Wiccan because Wiccan was like when he was first being released, no one was believing in that card except me. not to take all the claim here, but I kind of put him in the meta for a bit. The thing is that the point of power actually does matter a lot for Wiccan because the thing Wiccan decks do is not blow you out of the game. It's that they're slightly ahead of you, right? Like they're gonna do what you're doing if you're playing against like a mid-rangey style deck, and they're just gonna do it better than you. So the margins that it wins by is kind of little. Like sometimes you just get rolled by Wicked, right? But that depends on your own draw as well. If you're kind of drawing evenly and they get the Wiccan curve and everything, they're gonna win by like a little bit. And that one power does matter in some spaces. So that's all I would say. Like it does actually matter, and I don't think it's like insignificant of a change. So
I don't think so either.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things shape up.
So a lot of what it does, I think, too, is make Wiccan a more expensive deck. Because now you really want cards like Speed and Galacta, where a lot of people don't own them. It's hard for me. Like a lot of like Gladiator is now better in Wiccan, right? Because you need to make up for power. And I think that kind of thing is important in the like grand scheme of things. But I would be shocked if Wiccan wasn't still in top decks.
Yeah, and I always recommend people get Wiccan. Like it's coming up in the spotlights as well. This is a card that teaches you fundamentals of the game, which is get ahead, stay ahead. That is a fundamental thing in Marvel Snap, and I think it still does that perfectly, right? So yeah.
It's a very fun deck to play. Like it is the deck that I keep coming back to that I enjoy the most because there's nothing better than being able to get 2 energy on your opponent and not be playing the little red monster.
Speaking of the little red monster, we're going to use that as a point of transition. It is Surtur time. Surtur goes from a 3/4 to a 3/5, but his ability is now max twice per game. I believe that's the first time we've ever seen that in Marvel Snap. And there, let's go, Surtur.
As someone that was planning most of his resource allocation in the next couple of months on cards that buff Surtur, this one hurt a lot. I mean, it puts a ceiling on him, but it doesn't kill the Scar deck. I think, honestly, I really like this change because it makes the deck a little bit more strategic. You can't just throw Surtur in a lane and then play on curve and he's 16 power and he wins it for you. You're actually going to have to allocate more cards to win that lane now as well. So I think it's a really good change. I'm really curious how much of an effect this is going to have on him. But overall, I mean, I think this is a pretty big hit to him, but not enough to kill the deck overall.
Yeah, it's an awkward change. Let me start there. Like it feels a little awkward. It feels a little. They couldn't think of a solution fast
inelegant
enough.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. It does solve a problem, which is that this doesn't just go crazy anymore. However, I think the most successful Surtur decks are the sort of the hybrid ones where they don't even run a Scar, they run like Scream and things like that. So that doesn't really get affected that much because in those decks, Surtur was only going to 10 power or maybe a little bit more, right? So you're losing maybe 2 power basically. So, it's a change. It's a change they did, and it will hurt the dedicated Surtur decks, but it's still fine. Yeah, it's totally fine.
Nick?
I think, like with everything, you take something off of a card, and
you take the good, you take the bad. Sorry,
take the things you never had. The facts life. I think dropping that or limiting, I think the max power that he can get will cause people to just switch away from him for a little bit. And honestly, with how frequently I was seeing the Surtur decks in the meta, I think a lot of people were in that same boat. Unfortunately, I think it doesn't hurt to get a little bit of a breather from him until people figure out, oh, okay, he's still really good. Like, a 311 is still very good, but It is. I think the biggest problem with it is it's just a weird, inelegant solution to have a limit of 2. I don't like that. It doesn't feel very Snap.
Yeah, inelegance has been covered fairly effectively. Deck's still probably one of the top 3 to 5 decks in Marvel Snap. Like what? Both decks, right? Like the Scream version, which there's also a Scream version that doesn't even bother running Scream. That's got just as high a win rate at Top Infinite right now, which is like really annoyed me when I saw it. So there's the Scream version, and then there's the just I run Scar version. Most games, and I know everyone likes to remember the high rolls, right? Because that's what impacts our memory. But most games, it was a 310. Most games right now, it's going to be a 311. That's, I hate to tell you, better, right? Like when this doesn't work, it's better. Now, if you play it on a Red Guardian, you're not like hosed. Not a Red Guardian, a Rocket and Groot. You're not hosed. I said host for the Canadians in the audience. So I don't know. I think that this is going to be much ado about nothing. Hopefully, it scares some people off playing it, but like maybe not, because my entire game plan right now has been just feasting on these damn decks. We'll talk about that when we get to the next card, but like Surtur is still great. If you were playing that deck and you're annoyed, just keep playing the deck. You're gonna like lose an occasional game war, right? There's a potential -4 power here, but in most games it's a +1, and sometimes it's a -2. Follow-ups?
Couple quick things to mention. One, a lot of Surtur decks run Iron Patriot. This is better for Iron Patriot. It's a better follow-up for Iron Patriot. You instantly get 5 power on the board. And 2, it's kind of good for Surtur decks to be less played. Like, it's a psychological effect, right? We know this. When something gets a little bit nerfed, people start playing it. It's like a psychological thing. It's kind of good that if people stop playing it a little bit, because if you're a Surtur fan, now you don't have a target on your back. You're not going to see as many Shang-Chi's. You're not going to see as many of those counters to it until until Diamondback comes out, and then everybody's playing Affliction. But you get my point.
All right. Dare, any final thoughts on this one?
I mean, I'm kind of agree with that because I feel like Surtur actually kind of disappeared there for a while for no reason whatsoever. Then I think people just got bored with him because it's not an exciting deck to play. And then when Ares came out, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this deck's broken," and it kind of just showed back up. So I agree that I think that if people see that it got nerfed, they'll kind of stop playing it for a bit, and then eventually, sometime down the road, something will come out and be like, "Oh wait, this deck actually did not get that bad of a nerf." So I agree. I think that's probably how it's going to end up being.
Oh, I have actually a couple more thoughts now that I think of it. A thing I saw in my comments was people are like, cards like Morbius? I had to make sure I wasn't Mobiusing. Morbius, get bigger than this. Yes, but like the downside of playing Morbius is you have to run a million discard cards that are like sort of understated, right? Or at least medium stated. The downside of running Surtur cards is you're running a bunch of 10s. The entire rest of your deck can still win. You're still running crazy power. So like what you were saying here is Surtur shouldn't be able to scale up as much as a card you have to build your whole deck around when you have to run weaker synergy cards in other decks than the powerful synergy cards you get to run in Surtur Shell. The other thing is we're going to talk in a little bit about a 310. And having an extra 310 with Surtur, as he was, seems like a capital P problem. And I'd rather not deal with that problem. Let's preemptively, like, it's still going to be a problem, let's just be clear. But like, let's weaken that problem just a touch so that like everyone, it doesn't immediately bang their head into the wall when that happens. All right. Next, Nick, sorry, final thoughts? Any other thoughts?
No, I just look forward to the relief from the air gap of Surtur going away for just a little.
Well, part of the release is just play this next card, because this next card has been one of the secret things I'm just throwing into fucking decks lately. It's Scorpion. Our friend Cougar, shoutouts to Cougar, created a high evolutionary Scorpion deck that I was using to great success earlier this week, and then I just started jamming Scorpion into stuff as my 2-drop when I had a 2-drop slot. You don't really want to run it over Iron Patriot, but if all you're seeing is this matchup, let me just tell you, Scorpion does an amazing job at making that super winnable. Scorpion goes from a 2-2 to a 2-3. And we never start with Nick. I don't want you to feel left out, Nick. Go ahead.
Cool. Like, it's nice seeing early cards getting buffed to some degree. I don't love Affliction, primarily being on the receiving side of Affliction, because it's very frustrating, especially if you're trying to play a starter deck and you can't get that 10 cost card where it needs to go. But I think this is powerful, and I think this is good for especially those newer players that are, I think a lot of us that hit Infinite go up against randomly. We'll go up against a 2000 collection level player and feel very cocky at the start, or at least I did when we first started having it happen. And nowadays I'm just like, I'm going to lose this match somehow. They're going to play some card that I'm not expecting. And I think High Evolutionary is one of those decks that if it's played well, this is, I think, an amazing card to add to that and to just buff it a little bit more.
Ego.
Yeah, no, it's a good change. Makes the card definitely. It reminds people this card exists. I know this card was the meta card at one point. If you remember, it was Iceman into Scorpion.
In leader
that was
decks.
that was like a devastating combo. People hated it, but then obviously power creep and all that stuff. So yeah, it's good to be reminded that this card exists. It's gonna be played for sure. It's gonna be played. You can't be mad about what's on average probably like a 2-5 on 2-6 maybe even. So yeah, it's a good change. Again, it will have effect where like certain card releases will make this card worse, where everybody's just going to run Luke Cage at some points and things like that. So that is an effect, but a good change overall.
There.
No, I agree with everything that pretty much everyone said. It's good to see that the older cards kind of get buffed. It's once again, it's just a buff to Affliction. I'm really curious if this actually goes into maybe being more of an option now with Diamondback of giving you something else to target with her. If you don't get your Hazmat, you don't get any of the other things. Kind of to me is just kind of an interesting thing of having something else to target with her when she comes out. So I like the change. I always love when they see older cards get buffed up like this, especially for the newer, lower collection level players.
Yeah, 2-5 to 2-6 is good stats. Like, I spend a lot of time when I'm building decks going, if you like trying to figure out a replacement for like Iron Patriot, right? If you don't have Iron Patriot, like you're running Cable. Now you don't have Iron Patriot and like Kate Bishop, and like what the hell do you do? Well, now what you do is you throw Scorpion in, and you're getting some reasonably good stats, and you're countering quite a few decks. Like, a lot of cards are significantly worse with one less power. I don't know if like everyone always goes whenever the OT happens, what does one power matter? A lot. One power matters a lot. It's Marvel Snap. And Scorpion's more than one extra power really here. So like, because it wasn't index. Like, this is a good card, like a very good card. And people are going to sleep on it for a while until someone completely breaks something with it.
I'll also say I think this is also another nerf to the Surtur decks, just indirectly.
I mean, if you can curve, it's no longer Iceman Scorpion. If you can curve Scorpion into Cassandra Nova, like buy Surtur deck.
Rip. Yep.
And like again, you just played a 2-3 that's really going to play as 2-5 into a 3-6 that's going to play as like a 3-9. That's pretty nice, right? Like that's a lot of stats in a game, unless they have Luke, in which case, I mean, sort of womp womp. But at least you still got a 2-3 body and a 3-6 body. Sunspot becomes a 1-1. Ika?
Great, long overdue. As Sunspot at one point was a very, very strong card, so that's why it was nerfed, because it used to be a 1-1. But yeah, now that makes sense. And maybe I can start thinking about actually putting Sunspot in some decks that maybe sometimes have an awkward curve and can float and becomes like a 1-3. That's decent. Obviously, it's a high Evo primary card, but great, good change.
There.
I agree. I mean, I feel like Sunspot saw some play, but not a whole lot. Mainly just he's got power crap. There was a lot of competition in the one slot, especially stuff like Silver Sable and stuff like that. So I mean, I think it's a great change to add one power and see what happens to him.
Nick?
For what was the premier one drop like this before Nebula, everybody, you have Sunspot in your deck because you're probably going to miss a turn. You're probably going to gain some energy and he's going to be valuable. Then he went to where he was never used, and High Evolutionary brought him back, and then he just kind of disappeared again. So I don't know if I want to see him back to the extent that he was previously, but I think a little bit more Sunspot is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I could see him as a 1-2, honestly. Like, I don't think that's out of hand. I just think, he's a series like 2 card, right? Series 1, series 2, something like that. Maybe not. I could see that being too good early. So at late game, a thing that I wish they did, and this is completely off freaking topic. Sorry, I know we have a lot to get to. Is I wish that there was a point like in level 3 where certain level series 1 and 2 cards leveled up or evolved.
Hmm.
Right, like where Sunspot is a 1/1 in series 1 and 2, and then like you get to halfway point of series 3, and like your series 1 card just evolves, like Sunspot joins the X-Men or whatever from New Mutants. Like you can make it thematic. I think that'd be really cool and like a really interesting way of getting around that problem that they constantly have of like, what do we do? We can't change Captain America because series 1. And it's just like, well, did you know, like, you could even sell the upgrade, because let's be honest, that's what Second Dinner would do, right? They'd be like, once you get to this point, for 1,000 tokens, your Sunspot can get better, and fine, right? Like, it's a great way to, like, monetize some earlier cards, and I think it would be worthwhile, because I do think this would be a good 1-2 right now, and, like, end game play. Right now, it's Moon Girl and it's Evo, but, like, it's good in Moon Girl and Evo, so I'm not sad to see it better. I personally play a decent amount of Moon Girl and Evo, so helps me. Sarah, 5-5. Ika, go. You play a lot of Sarah.
Yeah, actually. No, it's fine. It's good. Definitely felt underpowered to be playing Sarah these days, and this definitely makes it less bad to play, but not the right meta. I think you've even mentioned Glazer in your OTA video that right now there's a lot of Mobius around, and this is definitely not the card you want to be playing right now. But Sarah pops up time to time. Sometimes, a certain deck gets out of hand, and then boom, that's the right prime time for Sarah control, and then that dominates for a bit, and then it goes to sleep again, and so goes on the loop. But yeah, even like Surfer decks don't even run Sarah these days, so yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
There.
I agree. Especially with Mobius being kind of prevalent in the meta right now. It's not a time for Sarah. I think that for me, especially love playing a lot of Silver Surfer. She kind of fell off with the introduction of Galacta. Because with Galacta, Sarah doesn't make a lot of sense, because if you're throwing down 3 cards on turn 6, you're not fully utilizing Galacta the way that you want, especially hitting Sarah on turn 5. So that's when kind of Hope Summers became more of a better play, essentially, than Sarah is in Silver Surfer. I think it's an interesting play, especially if we don't see Mobius to maybe play around with Sarah a little bit more back in Surfer. But overall, I think it's an interesting change, but I don't think it's really enough to really make her see a whole lot more play right now than any of the decks she's already in.
Yeah, same idea. Like back in the day when the Sarah Miracle decks and you'd have the negative serotonin decks, I don't think those are coming back. I think with Mobius and if they ever get big, Mobius is that pressure release that the second they get big, he comes in the meta and kills everything. And he kills, with the starter decks being big, he does do damage to those decks as well. So an extra power, I don't think it's nice to have, but I don't know if it'll change anything. It'll be interesting to see though.
So this will be nothing right now. Again, Mobius, but like Wiccan's change, this is a change with outsized impact because of the type of deck it's in. Sarah decks win and lose lanes by 1 power. I remember when Sarah lost the power, I was basically maining Sarah because that was when I didn't have enough cards to build multiple decks, right? So I was maining things. But when I mained Sarah, I like the day after the nerf, I lost like 3 or 4 games by that 1 power, and I was like, wow, that's wild. But like, it really does matter exponentially more in Sarah decks than it does elsewhere. It really does matter more in Wiccan decks than it does elsewhere. So I do think that this is going to be a major change for Sarah decks, or a major like bonus to the decks when they can exist, which is not right now. A lot of Sarah decks, not all, because Wiccan can run 6s in a way Sarah doesn't usually want to. But a lot of Sarah decks look an awful lot like Wiccan decks, and that seems really good. And the other card that really, really, really is going to benefit from this is Luna Snow somewhere down the line. Because Luna Snow into Sarah is now an 11-point turn 3, turn 4, which is some really decent stats for the amount of power you're going to get from it. So I think I'm very excited for this. I just have to remember that it's a change that exists in a month when it matters. Our last change is the great Adam Warlock has finally been changed. He goes from a 5/5 to a 2/0, but now when you don't draw, whether that be because you tied or because you're losing that lane, he gets +1 power. Dare, take us away.
Love it.
With Adam Warlock. Ooh,
I love it.
damn.
I do. I already played him a lot, so I threw him into essentially the Havoc deck with Bast and Agent Venom, and I just absolutely love. Which I really enjoy that deck anyway, and he just feels so good on it. I mean, especially since it's one of those decks that you're getting power out early on the board. You can kind of swing that priority, and then you're just eating that draw just every turn. I really enjoyed him. I think that was a great change. I don't necessarily know what Adam Warlock was previously in Marvel Snap because I've only been around in the game for like 9 months, so I've never actually played him prior to this. So I loved just
No one
including
did
him
before
in.
anyway.
And I had a blast with him in just the short time that I played with him this afternoon. So really love this change.
Ika?
Yeah, so this one scares me a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you. This one scares me a little bit. I played, obviously, I did. This was the first card I tried when the OTA came out. And the times where my opponent got Adam Warlock and I didn't, and they were just rolling, that did not feel good. And it was very hard to stop. You know, even if you stop it, you're like, okay, they're still gaining power. I'm essentially trying to stop their draw, and they're still gaining power. It feels like you don't lose with this card, right? Like it feels like, I mean, the downside is that you're initially playing a 2-0, right? But is that really a downside if you're playing like you mentioned, like the Bast Havoc deck, right?
Mhm.
That's not really a downside because most of the time you're going to buff this card to a 2-3 anyways. And then anything additional is just power or draw, and you're just kind of rolling from there. It scares me a little bit. I think this, right now at least, for now, goes in pretty much mostly every deck you can think of. Yeah, I really do. I think this kind of replaces Iron Patriot in a lot of those
Wow.
mid-ranges. Yeah, I really do. Now, I will hold the right to change my mind in a week when things kind of settle down a little bit, and we'll see how things are going. But for now, this seems a little bit overtuned. But it's fun to be playing this card, right? This card should be powerful. It's a super powerful character. Not best powerful though, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a little bit fresh to be making such huge judgment calls, but I'm a little bit scared.
Nick?
I agree with Ika. I think this is insane. Like when you really look at this, if you lose, you get an extra power. If you win, you get to draw a card. There's going to be times where you're going to have Iron Patriot in that deck. You're going to play Iron Patriot in a lane, and then you're going to play Adam Warlock over there because you've got the cards you need in your hand. You want that extra power, and they're going to have to try and finagle that. That means that they may not play their Red Guardian on that exact turn, or you may get this out before or after they deal with it. I think this is insane. I can only imagine what this is going to mean in a little bit. I think Adam Warlock has become, I think, a preeminent 2 cost to have in your deck.
Yeah, I didn't like this in the OTA, my initial blush reaction. And like 10 minutes after the OTA, Toxic Soul King, shout outs to Toxic Soul King, sent me his version of the Havoc deck. And was like, I'm winning 70% of my games, and then kept updating me stats. And I was like, oh, well, I immediately regret that. Spoiler, Sunday / tomorrow in 2 days. You know, time is fun. This video title is going to be like, oops, I was wrong. Because I was wrong. My initial blush reaction was to underrate the +1 power. That said, I think it's going to take a little while to shake out. I don't think that I think you want this in very similar decks to Iron Patriot, but I think it's hard to run them together. And given that difficulty, I think eventually one is going to be better than the other. And I could easily see that being Iron Patriot, which was the point of my initial skepticism. Because if I can play a 2/6, that's still a draw. It's not from my deck, but it's better than anything I have in my deck in all likelihood because of the cost discount. However, Mobius meta, right? So like that might shift things back toward Adam Warlock. I don't know. This feels like if this never draws a card and you play it on turn 2, it's a 2/5. I'm perfectly happy to play a naked 2/5. This is probably going to be very good. And it's like I said this in the video, I just want to once again, we're going to talk about Agamotto in a second. This card is unreal with Agamotto. Like broken with Agamotto. So I would probably expect this to get nerfed. I don't know how. It could be a 3 cost or like start at negative strength. Maybe negative strength. I think negative strength is actually a reasonably elegant solution here. But whatever. Yeah, it's a very good card. I'm very, very curious how the eventual Iron Patriot thing shanks out. I do know that for the next couple of days, unless I'm running into a ridiculous amount of Mobius, and I might not be, right? Unless I'm running into a ridiculous amount of Mobius, I know I'm going to be running into a ridiculous amount of Adam Warlock, and I'm going to be trying to Iron Patriot and Frigga the Iron Patriot card and take advantage of that as a way to really punish. And that it's so punishable, I think might keep it in check, but I'm not 100% sure. Because if you have enough cards, it might not matter. Like, it becomes really, 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 really tricky. And I think, like, people are overlooking that now because everyone's sort of playing it. And so that, like, no one's really punishing you for playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But also this card is, like, something that, like, good players will really love, right? Because unlike a card like Nebula, which, you put down and you have psychological effect on your opponent, where, like, okay, they're gonna have to play in this lane. If they skip, they're gonna have to deal with my 2 power. Unlike that, this has benefits whether they play or they don't play in your lane, right? So you can use that psychologically, right? Sometimes you may have the exact combo you need in your hand, and you're like, okay, they're going to think I'm going to keep investing in this Adam Warlock lane. I'm actually just going to give up, let that get the plus 1 or 2 power. I'm going to play over here because I already have the cards I need in my hand. So there's this whole different level of a head game that happens with this card now that I think it's, I don't know, I think it's kind of a little bit dangerous, especially in a good player's hands. But yeah.
I think to add on to that, I actually think this you don't need to be as good of a player with something like this, because it's the head game to where they don't know what you've got in your hand. And it comes down to, do I need that draw? And I think when you do need the draw, that's going to be the bigger problem, because you're going to try and build up that lane. And do you really need to build up that lane? And as you're building up that lane, if you're slightly shy, you're building up the Adam Warlock. Like it's a weird off and on. But if you're just trying to put that in a lane and distract them from what you want to do, I think it's incredibly powerful. Plus, we get to use all the cool variants. We all have like 14 Adam Warlock variants that we've never done anything with. So now we get to use some of them. I can use the Flaviano one now.
You know what card really loves this? Wiccan.
My first thought was this would go really nice as a curve 2 into Wiccan.
Yeah, like, because you know what Wiccan wants to do? Draw Wiccan. It's also really good in Sero, should that ever exist. But, like, Wiccan really loves this card. Like,
yeah, Wiccan
really
loves draws and lots of cards in hand.
Yeah,
to play them.
Absolutely, yeah. Dare, any final thoughts on Adam Warlock?
No. I mean, I think you guys are all right. I mean, it is super strong. It probably is going to be concerns. We'll see if they actually take this back at all. I guess we're just going to have to see how. I think it fits, like you said, in any mid-range package right now. It's going to be a problem. Like I said, Havoc, Agent Venom is a fantastic deck. I was thinking Zoo could be an extremely good deck for this thing, just because it puts early power out there, guarantee that you increase your likelihood of getting your Gilgamesh, getting your big cards. So we'll just kind of see how it plays out over the next couple of weeks. I think that he's probably just going to be an extremely good target or reason to throw Red Guardian in every deck right now.
Isn't he already in every single deck?
That's fair. Never mind. I take it back. Yeah, he's already there.
Also, that reminded me there, the new game mode that's coming out. Holy! This is like an auto include in every deck in the new game mode, because there's so much location stuff that's happening in that game mode that this is gonna kind of put it in a location where you're not contesting, etc., etc. That's gonna be great for that game mode.
It's also really, really strong with Rocket and Groot. Like your Rocket and Groot, all the stuff that Iron Patriot is strong with, this is strong with. It's just hard to run both.
Yeah.
Jug.
Yeah.
Does this work well with Nebula as well? Like if you get Nebula in one lane and Adam Warlock in another, and they don't know where the hell they're going to go. Like, what do I do?
And this is a nice Series 3 card, so happy to see them make a Series 3 card this strong, even though I'm pretty sure they did not mean to. All right. Character Mastery. I'm not going to read anything about Character Mastery. If you've been paying attention to Marvel Snap, you know what Character Mastery is. I got some takes that I've been waiting for this episode for, but we're going to kick it off with Dare because he just fixed his whole ass posture for Character Mastery, and I'm real excited to see what's about to happen.
It had nothing to do with Character Mastery. I think it's fine. I think there's a lot of people that are really disappointed with especially how grindy it is. I think a lot of people are expecting, like, oh, I've been playing this game since beta. I'm expecting to have a bunch of, level 30 mastered characters, and that was not the case. I'm a little bit disappointed with how the split system works. I was envisioning it was going to be, hey, I get this background. Hey, I got this effect. I can apply those to the card however I want, not knowing that I then have to hope to get those splits again. It's just another reason to split more cards. Overall, I mean, it's just an add-in for us to just essentially play more cards, do more splits, get more variants. So I'm not too psyched about it, but I mean, I'll play with it just because it's in the game, but it's not really my thing.
Okay. uh, it's definitely not. Okay, well, I wouldn't say expected, but maybe it's not something many people didn't expect, which is that it's not really character mastery, it's more variant mastery, right? Like, I think you already touched on this a little bit, but it definitely doesn't feel great when you have like a card, like a Wiccan, for example, for me, where I've split so many times, I've played it so many times, but because there are just like not that many variants of the card or anything like that, I do not have a high mastery on the card. However, like Captain America is my like third highest, and I've split him once. But because I have just accumulated random Captain America variants over time, it's like one of my highest levels. So that is something that I think disappoints a lot of people. Also, just the general dilution of the splits. But I mean, we'll get to it. It's not really diluting because you still have a 10% chance of getting those gold ink crackle splits. So it's not really diluting it, but getting a cool combo is definitely very, very difficult. But I don't want to be all negative. It is super sick to be able to just take a card you've split once and put some cool background on it and just, not worry about it. Like, I'm not going to play that much like Maria Hill. So, just having a spiral cool background on it, I'm set. I never need to split that card again. That's where I'm at.
Nick?
I was really excited about this. Like, I was so excited about this happening. And then it happened. And then I realized exactly what Iko and Derek were saying is it's like, oh, it's variant mastery. I have a level 30 Miles Morales. I've split him once. I just have a crap ton of variants. It is really annoying when you do a split and you get a cool background and then you get bananas on a thing that doesn't matter. Or you get the stupid one of the random 6-pack of blue. You get a Blu-ray on a card that makes no sense. I thought the green Kirby and the green like sparkles were annoying. They are nothing in comparison to getting like a Ray background and a mismatched color flare. Like, screw off. There is some cool stuff, but the fact that if you didn't save your splits, now you have to go through that whole nonsense again. And if you did save your splits, you have to potentially risk getting garbage and garbage together. You have to deal with the rays. Like, I saw someone's Twitter post today and I was just like, oh man, yeah, you're not kidding. Like, half of these cards look crappy when you stick those stupid blue rays on them. And again, you have 6 of them. You have 6 that you have to pick from and 3 flame ones to pick from. Now, can you get lucky? I have a Nico with the flame background and a red flame ember. Doesn't really match our color, but it's a cool combination. But I also have a Jubilee that's ink with bananas. And the bananas are cute, but they're cute on like a handful of cards and they're stupid on everything else. But I know Glazer has even more to say about it. So I will acquiesce to him to let him speak his mind.
Any arguments for me cursing?
No, please.
Yeah, I knew that they were going to be greedy with this. I've met Second Dinner. We're well acquainted at this point. Like, yes, it's variant mastery. No shit. We've like, if you thought it was going to be like, I played a card a lot, like, you don't know Second Dinner at this point. Come on. Like, new era. Like, it's definitely better than it was, right? But like, they're not going to be like generous about everything. Don't be silly. People demanded this. So they're like, how can we milk every cent out of this? Fine. Fine. This is whale bait. Fine. But I've split Kate Bishop like in 25 times. And I'm just looking for a simple gold background. I don't want anything fancy. All I want is a simple gold background. I got green rays with fucking bananas. What the fuck? Go check my Twitter, SnapJudgeCast. It's fucking there because it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. The purple ass Kate Bishop with green rays floating and bananas. Like, go fuck yourself, man. Like, if you're gonna like do this, don't make 3/4 of them fucking ugly. Like, is that too much to ask? Like, they shouldn't be fucking ugly. This isn't complicated. I don't understand why they thought doing this, like, if they were going to do this and they were all these different cool looking things, fucking fine. Like, what the fuck do I want bubbles on Surtur for? Like, what? This is so stupid. This is so fucking stupid. And I've been trying to be really nice about it, and I haven't talked about it until now. And I know they tried, and I know they rebuilt portions of the game to make this stupid shit work. No one looked at these fucking cards and were like, guys, that's really ugly. Are you sure you should release something that makes our beautiful game really fucking ugly? And then I play random games against people, and I'm like, oh my god, this game is so ugly all of a sudden. What the fuck are you doing? Like, straight up. Like, it's fucking embarrassing. I'm playing Marvel Snap, and now I don't want to play in public because someone's going to have that fucking ugly shit. And I'm playing this ugly fucking game. It doesn't even look cool. Like fucking Pokemon. I was like, oh, this is so basic. I'd rather play Pokemon. At least Pokemon's basic shit isn't horribly ugly, which your game now is. What are you doing? Rant done, sorry.
I've never seen Glazer that bad
It's so
Ever.
ugly. You open a game and it's just ugly. Like, tell me Marvel Snap, like 3 days ago, wasn't genuinely beautiful at least 80% of the time. Visually engaging.
Even the prism backgrounds, as sometimes they looked really bad and sometimes people made some really bad choices. It's nothing like the abomination that you rolled with poor Kate Bishop. Like, holy God.
I mean, look, to be fair, like, you were going to get something ugly in replacement of that anyways before this change, right? Like, you were probably going to get a prism with
prisms
green.
Aren't like horrifying, right? Like, they're not my thing, but I don't look at a prism and go, that clashes and is horrible.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Like this stands out just by looking at it and is like genuinely aesthetically intriguing. Prisms are just like, I guess I don't like that. I don't like that, and that's horribly ugly are massively different things. They just are. Yeah. That, like, oh, that's a little bit like aesthetically unpleasing. Okay. Versus every bit of this clashes, and now I have 6 of these that every time I open, I'm risking getting one of these ugly Ray backgrounds. Only one color even slightly goes with this damn card. And like, why? Why? And like, I get the banana thing is cute. The banana is supposed to be a booby prize. I hate to tell everyone this, but the banana is supposed to be a booby prize. The joke is banana split.
Yeah.
Yes? Like, it's a stupid joke, but like, it's supposed to be the booby prize. If that was the only thing they did, fine. But then like 90% of these things are just, why would I ever want them? Like, there might be one card I want these on. Like, at least theme them, right? Like, okay, these 5 monkey characters are going to have the option for bananas. These 5 water characters are going to have the option for water. Like, there's ways to do this to make it cool. Instead, they were like, no, our game is going to be ugly from now on. Deal with it.
Yeah. I think just a simple thing they can do soon as possible is just make the rays one category, right? Like, make it so that you just get a ray split and then you can choose the color of it or something. I think that would be like an easy, simple solution. I don't mind them too much. I agree with you. Like, the combinations are just so bad. It's very hard to be excited about something that when you split it, you're like, well, that just doesn't look right. So I get that perspective.
People want to split things anymore. Like, why bother? Why spend on credits? Like, I mean, I know the chance is technically like close to the same, right? But like, when the field, they should have learned this from Spotlight caches. One would think they would have learned this from Spotlight caches. But when the feels bad is feels terrible, that doesn't balance out technically better. I don't give a fuck. Charge me all the money you want for this stupid mode. That's for whales. But I'm a whale. Don't make my game ugly. Sorry. I told you I was going to yell. I told you I was going to curse. I guess I didn't say I was going to yell. I've been holding that in for like 4 days because I didn't have a video to talk about it on. So I was just, like, because at first, like, I did the video like as the patch came out, right? So like as I did the video, I was like, whatever. I didn't know what this was actually going to be, and then it happened, and I was like,
Any change that has ever happened, even negative ones, Glazer has always been like, yeah, but like what? And this has been the one that you've popped off on the most.
And it's funny because Glazer doesn't care. Like as long as it's ink or gold, that's all he really that's all that matters to you. You don't care about the god splits like some of us idiots do that grind through.
It's just it's just a rude mistake. There's no way anyone looked at those rays and bananas and was like, that's beautiful. I just don't believe it. Like, I straight up don't believe that ever happened. So they knew they were giving us a bunch of ugly shit, and they decided to do it anyway. And that's insulting.
Or if they didn't, that's the scary thing, is if they didn't think it was that, like...
No.
Then
no one... anyone, like... If someone would like to defend these, please feel free. Right? Like, you know what they could do? And I literally told them this. I messaged them this. So this isn't like me just speaking out of pocket. Make the rays player's choice. Give us a button we can click to just choose whatever color rays we want. And at least 40% of this problem goes away. Yeah. That there's 6 different rays and you have to unlock each one at a time is fucking bonkers. It's just...
And I know we don't generally talk about chat, but Dragon made a very good point in here, and that some can trigger people's... because of the flashing and strobing, it can trigger people. And there's no way to disable that. You cannot turn that off. So that's a huge problem. That is just lazy, rude damage. Like
the whole chat saying, I don't want to play them. It's not that I don't want to play them. It's I don't want to play against them. I don't not only do I not want to play them, I see the opponent playing them and I'm not going to retreat because I'm enough of a rancor for that. Right. But I'm just I don't even want to, this is so ugly. Oh, great. Look at that horrible thing that you're playing against me. It's and I don't usually give a shit about art. I'm such a verbal person that I don't you have to be so ugly for me to be notably huh. But they hit it.
There are some good ones in there, though. Let's be fair. The black prism one is really super cool. I think looks great on some of the cards. Even though the gold prism ones look great on some cards.
But mastery is supposed to be a reward. So instead of releasing a reward where 75 to 80% is terrible, just release more cool shit.
Yeah, half of me is just I wish I didn't have to unlock rays on any of these stupid cards to add it into the mix. And again, it's diluting it by times 6. What the? Yeah, anyway. Yeah.
So, sorry, you're just I'm not getting in trouble second dinner.
No, it's not really that. I think I had zero expectation for it. I was really worried. I knew that there was going to be variance attached to it. I knew it wasn't going to be about how much you played a card. And I think I just came in with just zero expectations. And I was I'm not going to be happy with it anyway. And so it is what it is. But I mean, everything you guys are saying is right. I mean, it's diluted. It's just another grind. It's another reason to throw money at it, to chase a split that's 10 times harder to pull, even though there are cool ones in there. Like I've said, there's 6 different, 6 different colors of that one. So you're going to have to just wade through split after split after split to get that one fiery effect that actually you want. So I mean, yeah, it's just one more thing that we just got to throw money or grind at to get what we want.
To sum up, boo.
I wanted to boo when you actually revealed the banana split joke.
Ika is never the most positive. He's very
I'm usually I don't even like it, and I'm still maybe it's got some good things.
It's I don't know. I don't want to keep. Is there anything else?
My bigger issue is the fact that it's not a character mastery. That's kind of that's the basis. It's kind of the thing that is the most wrong about it.
Well, but how much worse would it feel if you were if it was destroy with venom 300 times and then you did that, right? And then the 300th time it was bananas and rays, bitch.
Yeah.
There has to be an in-between. There just has to be. I wish
they
would have just left this in the oven.
There should be literally a for playing the card or for winning with the card, you should get some extremely low value. So you have to play with it hundreds, if not thousands of times to get it. But if you really want to do it that way, there should be a way. A lot of it is much like for gaining credits, right? You can spend money to get cards, or you can just play an awful lot. I think there should be an either or option here, and that it's just like, nah, spend money up is obnoxious.
And those character reactions at the top of the level are so cool too. Like, I want those Cerebro ones, but I'm never gonna get the Cerebro one because I'm not playing that much Cerebro, let's be honest, right? Or buying Cerebro variants. I wish there was an easier way to access those things as well.
Well, as we're going to continue to complain about this, every blonde woman is the same character. That's cool. Like that's definitely great. I felt so bad because Lauren Whatevs has like 7 million Valkyrie splits, right? She could have just split any fucking blonde card and it would have been exactly the same. Exactly the same. Literally no difference. We couldn't figure out a visual marker at all, friends. Nah, it's just like blonde woman, blue eyes, long hair. Maybe we'll give this one gloves. Got him. Lazy shit. I hate this whole thing. Like, and I was like, this should have been something I don't even notice or care about. Because, like, this is exactly the kind of thing in Marvel Snap that everyone gets really worked up about, that I'm just like, whatever, I don't, like, it doesn't have to affect me. But they did, like, almost every step of this wrong. It's amazing. They don't usually mess up this badly. Like, they got, like, 3 cool splits.
Fuck up.
Yeah. Oh. All right, let's talk about, like, good things. Let's talk about new cards, because, like, Glenn is good at his job. All right, Glenn Jones designs, and then the rest of the design team. Huge props to all of you, because we're about to talk about a ridiculous amount of cool cards. I'm going to be reading for 3 minutes, so the season pass card in March is actually 4 cards. It is Agamotto, who is a 5/10 game start. Shuffle 4 Ancient Arcana into your deck. And I'm going to read those Ancient Arcana before we come back and talk about it. So the first is the Winds of Watum, which is 2/0 on reveal. Afflict an enemy card here with -5 power and move it to the right, which just seems broken. And then they all have the phrase banish this at the end, and banish just fundamentally means immediately get rid of. It immediately disappears. So it's a 2/0 that immediately disappears after it resolves. Then Temporal Manipulation is a 1/0. Give Agamotto +3 power and put him in your hand if he is not in play. So if he's already in your hand, obviously that's also going to do nothing. But it makes him a 5/13. That seems, and draws him. So draws is good. We established when we talked about Adam Warlock. Then the Bolts of Balthak, which everyone's just going to call the Bolts of Balsac. Yes. On reveal, next turn you get +4 energy. Banish this. And then finally the Images of Icon, which is 4/0 on reveal. Transform your other cards here into copies of the highest power one. Banish this. All right. We're going to kick it off with Dare. What you got for Agamotto and his spells?
They're just kind of hitting with the season pass card continuously being super, super strong. I think just over and over again, it seems like they've been really cards that you do not want to miss out on. Agamotto just seems really strong to me. He seems like you're just going to throw him in a good cards deck. You're always going to have options. I think there's going to be a little bit of surprise of like, okay, what spells does your opponent actually have? They all are just really, really strong effects. I mean, especially the one that copies the highest power card in the lane. I mean, to me, like just an immediate, my example that I used in my own video about it was you throw out Squirrel Girl. You got Squirrel Girl in a lane. You throw out a Kate Bishop arrow. And then on turn, 4, you throw out a cheap Mockingbird. You throw out that on turn 5. You got 3 Mockingbirds in the lane. That's insane value. He's going to be really strong. Huh?
Galacta.
Oh yeah, Galacta even more.
Yeah, you turn them all to Galacta, and then you still have an energy to play a card in another spot.
Yeah, he's gonna he's gonna be a really, really good strong card.
Eek.
Yeah, this is so sick. You heard Glazer being passionate about something negative. Let me get fucking fired up about this card. No, this is so cool. One thing I want to point out is I think from some of the other like Datamines, I think those spells don't actually have the power number at all. I think the 0 power is actually even shout out to Braude, who runs the Snap Beagle as well. His Datamine picture showed it like it didn't even have a power number on it, which is significant because then you can't use things like Ravona or something like that to discount those spells. But that's a little, we don't know how that's going to turn out exactly. But oh my gosh, all the spells look incredible. the card itself looks very powerful. Obviously, drawing the cards is going to be a problem, but we got Adam Warlock now, and and that's going to make it a little bit easier. This is going to be very interesting. The one that also like moves the card and gives -5 power. That's also insanely strong.
For 2.
That's crazy. That's like -5. I don't think we even have any card that has that sort of powerful affliction on any other card. And then the ramp card that gives you 4 energy. Well, there's another card coming up as well that probably really ties well into this. Yeah, no, this is amazing. Definitely keeping, like you said there, definitely keeping in the theme of powerful season pass cards for sure.
I don't remember who's next. There?
I already went, Nick.
Nick,
I thought so. I was like, sorry. Eco is like, they don't have it according to Browday's thing. And then I decided to scroll my phone forever for Browday's thing, and now I can't find it.
Yep, and I went to go paste the clip in chat for other people, and then I got lost too. I was like, wait,
I do imagine that's actually really good news, because like my big concern if there was 0 power is some stupid negative package thing where someone's throwing it together and pulling them all at once. I was like, that might be a problem. So the fact that they have no power, it kind of reassures me a little bit.
And I'm wondering about that. Like, that makes me think that they need to do something to where maybe that they can't change the power. Like they, I don't know, if they're banished, it just seems, pardon me, it seems inelegant again to have a 2/0. It's sort of like with Kang, like his power doesn't matter ever, no matter what you do with him, unless you have him on a 0 him or Cosmo him on a lane in the negative deck, which who the hell is going to do that? It's just strange. If they have power, what's the point? Like, if they have a lot of power, do you just stick them in a Cosmo lane if you can't utilize them and you've got a decent power card? Like, I don't know. I wish they could figure out something for cards that they don't want to be messed with in that way. Sorry. I'm alive still. I will forever call him Agamemnon. I did it once and it's now stuck in my head. And now every time he's going to be Agamemnon, I think it's going to be an insane power card. And I'm looking forward to playing around with it. But it just seems also the banish kind of just makes me, I guess, so you can't bring it back with something like with Ghost Rider or something like that. But wouldn't Destroy kind of do the same thing? Like, I guess you can bring back Destroy cards. So yeah,
but you get a cheap death too,
that's
right?
Fair.
Like,
that's fair. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. The idea is that the downside here is you're not gaining board space for the benefit, right? Except that most of the things give you a board benefit just sort of indirectly. I literally cannot find this fucking link, and I'm going to drive myself crazy. Apparently, my entire Discord hit infinite in the last, 2 days, and everyone's like, I hit infinite, and then here's their deck, which is really, really sweet, and I'm very happy for them, but I give up now, so I can actually pay proper attention. So there is a downside here, right? You're drawing, a lot of times you're just going to be drawing air when you draw this. You need to draw their cards. So this is going to need extra things to do. Luckily, one of them draws this, which is extra, and I'm completely convinced that this is the reason that they buffed Adam Warlock so hard. They want this to go with Adam Warlock, so that that downside is mitigated. I could also see this being totally fine with a Thanos or something. Yes, that's going to thicken the deck, but the stones draw shit. If this doesn't work for Ravonna, I think that is significantly better. That would be a major benefit for this. If it works with Ravonna, that's a problem. But this is still almost no matter what going to work with Hope Summers and Angela. And then you can get extra benefit there, or Athena. And if you can get that extra benefit with Agamotto, I think that this is going to be an absolutely insane card. I've seen people complain that the +4 energy means that you're just only getting +1 energy. And I think that shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how energy works in Marvel Snap. Because 8 energy on turn 4 is a lot better than 3 energy on turn 3 and then 4 energy on turn 4. Forget every other card in Marvel Snap. Agamotto is completely broken with Galacta. You play whichever of the spells you want under Galacta, and then you play whatever card after, and then on turn 4, if you play that +3 energy jammy, you then play Galacta and a fucking 4-drop on turn 4. And that, my friends, is what we call a snap condition.
Yeah. I think the expectation with this card, though, is that you don't always going to play every spell. It's not like Thanos style where playing all the stones is the goal. right? I think they want you to be improvisational in your playstyle, where like, okay, this time I'm going to be doing this strategy where I'm going to flick their card and blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then this game, I'm going to go with the strategy where I, like you said, like Squirrel Girl and things like that, and I make all of them Mockingbird or something. So yeah, I think that's kind of the expectation, but yeah, it's gonna be. That's why all of the spells individually are so powerful, is because the expectation is that you play maybe 2 of them per game, right?
This, in a weird way, feels like people have been comparing it to a lot of different cards. To me, this is like Super Kate Bishop. This feels a lot like Super Kate Bishop to me. Like, what if we made a gigantic Kate Bishop? Because Kate Bishop, in my opinion, is one of their most successful designs ever. Kate Bishop is incredibly strong, incredibly fun, and doesn't feel unfair or broken. And that's like an amazing place to be, right? Like, a novel game experience that doesn't break anything is great. Like, Agamotto feels sort of like that to me.
Yeah, Kate Nico as well, one of
I
the
was
more
going to say, they could have
successful
gone the
ones as
Nico
well.
route with him too.
Yeah.
And then what happens if you use the Nico Destroy spell on one of the cards?
On-reveals happen before anything else, I believe.
But
yeah,
if you destroy it, does that banish it? If there's the location where after turn 5 you bring a card back, if it's destroyed and not banished, does it come back?
It should come back, but then immediately be banished, based on my understanding of how Marvel Snap works. Banish is a whole new keyword, right?
Yes, that's true.
They could change the timing in any way, shape, or form, but based on the timing we have right now, that's how it should work.
Well, it's definitely going to be something broken, things like literally.
Like they will, yes, this will literally break the game, guaranteed.
Because one of the things that got brought up was what happens if you have Wong down and you play one of these cards on Wong? Does it banish a second that on reveal happens, or is it like any other card to where, like, if you Nico destroy and you put that card on Wong, it'll still repeat both actions and then it'll destroy it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the banishing in this.
Yeah, and hopefully that's something that the testers have tested.
It's but
testers.
They didn't hire you for that, huh, Ika? Also, like 5/10 with positive ability is only one other card on Marvel Snap, right?
What is it, Arrow?
Arrow, yeah. I mean, I guess sort of Claw. The Claw's a 5/10. It's just across 2 lanes. But like every other 5/10 is negative ability.
I guess I got one left field question on how the essentially the spells are going to work. So in my mind, it's filling up your deck. Your deck's getting bigger. A card you potentially would want to play against this is Cassandra. But if they don't have power, does that mean that she actually cannot take power from them? Is it going to work like Luke Cage with Stream, or how does that interact?
If they don't have a power value,
nobody knows.
Yeah, she's not going to do anything to it.
She shouldn't do anything to it. If they don't have a power value, there should be nothing, right?
Doesn't she take from rocks as well? Like if you have rocks in your deck, she eats a power from the rock.
Rocks have power. So what these are like for MTG players, these are sorcery spells, right?
Yeah.
Like sorcery speed spells. That's a fair analogy, yeah?
Yep.
Like that's what they're doing with this. That's why they're not calling them spells, I think. So they're like, oh shit. Someone's gonna realize this is sorcery. But this is a sorcery speed spell.
Yeah.
Like we don't have any instance, but like we have sorcery now.
But people are going to be running Arishem, Thanos, and this card in their deck, and Angela. Brady's going to crack the deck with Angela as well.
Agatha. So that's
right. Agatha. Sorry, that's what I meant, not Angela. My apologies.
Put High Evo in there, you get like 5 animations at the beginning.
Both Devilish and Regis Kilbin both made every start of game effect deck. And it was really, really like if you haven't watched that Regis Kilbin video, please go watch it. It was genuinely super fun. I intended to watch it it's like a 40-minute video. I was like, I'll watch this for 2 minutes. This can't. And I was like, oh my God. I watched the entire video. I had such a good time with it. It's absurd and it's wonderful. He called it like his greatest video ever. And I don't think he's wrong. Yeah. Agamotto goes in.
I posted the video.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, don't watch it right now, dear Twitch chat. No. Stick with us. Let's go to our next card, which is the Everyone's like, they killed this card. Can we just chill? Because it didn't exist before. It hasn't been released. Isan is now a 6/9. He is after. I'm not going to read the series. Just it's series 5 unless as long as it's in a spotlight. And if it's not in a spotlight, it's series 4. After each turn, put a card from your hand that didn't start in your deck here. Dare. Do you dare to Isan?
I am a little disappointed in the change, but I do have to say I'm glad that I saw it because I was really worried about Isan. It would have been just too much power. I mean, I'm really just glad they changed it. I don't know. I think that he's still going to be an interesting card. He's going to have a lot of randomness into it, especially if you can cheat him out early with Wave or Airshim or whatever it is. But I mean, essentially, it's going to have to be an Airshim deck or any of the other card gen ones, which is kind of interesting. I'm worried he's just going to get coined as, oh, we have another card to just throw into Airshim, and he's not going to really have a place of his own. But I'm really hoping that maybe he can find a home in card gen or something like that, just so he's not just another Airshim add-on. But I was disappointed at first, but I'm actually really glad with the adjustment to his text.
Me too. Ika?
Yeah, no, there was no way that card was coming out like that, and I think they ran into the same problem where they're like, we can't even nerf it because nerfing it makes it useless, and then so they probably just scrapped it for that reason. This is like you said, this can go in Arsham or some hand gens. Obviously, I think the aim is Agamotto as well, right? Like you ramp this out with one of those spells, you have this down on 4, and now if you have other spells or other hand generations in your hand, now you're just popping them on the board. Seems pretty good in there. Nothing that exciting. I don't think this card is like meta defining. Even those decks, I think, could afford not to play this card, right? Like it's not like auto include. It's fine. Yeah.
So he's a 6/9 first, nice. But the thing is, getting him down on the board in time to make a humongous difference also seems challenging. Sure, if you pull the Agamotto spell that allows you to get that 4 energy the next turn, you can play him then and something else. But how often is that going to happen? Wiccan, you can play him on turn 4, or if you get Wiccan out early. And that pulls some cards out, but chances are if you're running a deck that has extra cards in it that you want to pull into there, then you have to try and pull Wiccan, and then you're having to run Adam Warlock to try and pull that card out. It's adding something to decks that makes it, I think, even more difficult to achieve the end goal. It's almost like you have to do too much in order to make this really, really powerful. Unless I could be wrong. Like, I don't know. I just think at a 6 cost, unless this is a game start thing, I don't know.
It's not. That would be utterly insane.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ika.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, also, it's like in this card's location. That's something to remember. Like, it doesn't just pull it on the board. It goes in where this card is. So it's like, if someone gets it down on 4, you just be like, okay, you can have that lane. That's fine.
So this is like meant for Arishem, but I think it's a significantly more interesting card without Arishem, because without Arishem, I think this would cost 5. Like, if Arishem wasn't a card that existed, this would cost 5. The issue is, if it costs 5, Arishem can play it on 4, like without any cost, and that's just too much. So I think it has to be a 6, unfortunately, because Arishem exists, which, there's lots of things that are unfortunate about Arishem existing in Marvel Snap. There was a point right when Victoria Hand came out that people were playing Agent Coulson, Nick Fury, that kind of card. And relatively quickly, we realized that, like, it's better to get +2 power on a bunch of small cards than +2 power on one big card, and that sort of went away. I'm hopeful, I don't expect it, but I'm hopeful that this can say that Agent Coulson and Nick Fury have a home. Because if I can get this out early enough, this pulling even 4, 5, 6s is, I mean, we know how powerful cheap 4, 5, 6s are. We've all played Iron Patriot. And that's fundamentally what this card says. And I think that combination has enough to it that I'm interested to experiment. Again, I don't expect much of it. This is an Arishem card. But I do have hope that Isan can be a thing that makes sense for us in a different shell and creates new archetypes. Maybe there's like a Wiccan Isan Agamotto shell that runs like Nick Fury and Coulson and generators. That'd be really cool. And, Again, I don't in any way, shape, or form expect that to be the case, but I'm hopeful. That's a Makari deck, by the way, for the record. Everything for free, the deck. All right. Oh, that's the wrong way. Sorry. Anything else? Next up, Starbrand. 310. Ongoing. Your opponent has +3 power at each other location, which, reminder, without any mitigating factors, makes this fundamentally a 3/4 in some ways. There. Unmute. Nah, got it.
Yeah, that button.
You
I mean,
don't have to
310's
mute. You could just chill. I don't
yeah,
care.
310's gross.
You
I,
could
I,
take.
I understand it's got the +3 to other locations, but stuff in like Sauron, and I mean even in a Surtur deck, I mean 310 is just a lot of power. So I'm really curious to see how he's going to work out. But I mean, I think that he's just a great addition into Sauron. I love to see that new things being added in to bring Sauron once again back into the meta. Which to me, I feel like that I feel like the Surtur and the Sauron packages are very similar and linear at this point in time. So I like to see a little bit deviation between those two different types of play. And I think this is a good addition to kind of lean more towards. I think this would go better in Sauron than Surtur, but I think yeah, it's a very strong card and a few number of decks.
Good.
Yeah, no, definitely gross. Yeah, no, this makes like Sauron on curve basically almost like a snap condition in a way, because a 310 is very powerful. 310 just the way it is very strong. There are some fun things you can also try with this, right? You could always play this down and then try to Viper it over and win the other 2 lanes and give them the middle lane or something like that. Um, there is some things to explore, but obviously just as a face, 310, you can Enchantress this or zero it, or like we said, Sauron it. There's 3 different ways you can get rid of the ability on this card, and that's pretty consistent. So that's pretty good.
Nick?
Yeah, to go on with that with Ika is you want 3s in the game. Like if you're playing a card, you want 3 cards for that to affect. Like Zabu, you want 3 4s to be in your deck, whatever. Having Sauron, Zero, and Enchantress to be able to kill this card and potentially kill their cards at the same time. I don't know. I don't know if this fundamentally changes the Shuri deck other than it's another big card that Shuri decks can play. The Sauron style decks. Like I'm interested in seeing what that comes out with, but I've never like Sauron is one of my least played cards. I think because Shuri was the very first card that I got from the token shop, and by the time Sauron came out, I was just like, no, I'm good. I'll pass. I like the impact to the other lanes if you can't deactivate him. I think that is an interesting way of doing things. But yeah,
I got Sauron as my Series 5 card back when that was like an extraordinarily rare thing. When you would like get a Series 5 card 1 out of every like stupid amount of caches. I got Sauron, and let me just tell you, that was great for me because I'm known for playing big, dumb, idiot decks. It's exactly my playstyle. So that's sat in my binder forever. Virtual binder. Starbrand's like utterly insane. We just talked about Adam Warlock and Iron Patriot. I don't think you need to run anything special. I'm running Enchantress in an awful lot of decks. I might throw in a 0, right? Like I don't have to run 0, but I might throw in a 0 because just like that's stupid. Turn 4, 13 power is a lot. And just this with Iron Patriot is, I mean, it's you better have an immediate answer because I just got a super cheap card. Like this with Adam Warlock means I get to draw cards. And if I'm drawing cards, one of the cards I'm fairly likely to draw is Enchantress. And just like, I don't know, this seems like it's probably a mistake. I don't know how else to put it. This is a card that will get nerfed. I fully expect that to go to +4, +5 power at each other location to really punish it, because I think that this is going to be entirely too good. It's like it obviously goes in the Surtur deck. It obviously goes in the Sauron deck. But I think it just goes in decks. Like, even if it's a 3/4, like, fundamentally what I can do with this is I can say I will throw one of those 2 lanes, and then this is a 3/7 at worst.
You know what this goes really well in?
Everything.
Destroy.
Yeah, every deck is happy with this. There's like not decks that are set like. I mean, I guess you don't want to run it with Bast and Ancient Venom, but like, if you're not running those cards, like your Sarah Miracle decks, okay, right? Like, what deck do you really not want to run this in? Like, I'm just like Surfer. Okay, sure. Like, I don't know if it goes in Surfer, but I'm at least mess with it, right?
I don't know. I don't think it's that universal. I mean, it is still like it's not a Mr. Fantastic where it goes to the adjacent location.
No, it goes to
every
both of
other
them.
location, right? So no matter where you play it, you're still getting that downside. So
yes,
I don't think it's that universal.
But I'm not trying to win 3 lanes in Marvel Snap, which I think is an important thing to notice, right? Like, generally speaking, in Marvel Snap, what I'd like to win is 2 lanes, which makes him fundamentally a 3/7, right? Like,
I see your point. Yeah,
and he's such a upside to that 1 lane I'm trying to win if he doesn't get shrunk. He's such an upside to that 1 lane I'm trying to win that I think I'm willing to deal with any other downside. I think this is just a mistake. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, 10 is too much to put on a 3. Like, 4 10s are insane, and there's an entire archetype built around how freaking busted they are, and we run Zabu because it's completely insane to play 2 3 10s at the end of the game, right? I get that natively? Okay.
Surtur Surfer, maybe?
I mean, I could see Surfer being at least reasonable to look at with this. Like, Forge into Gladiator. There's a lot of ways to make Surfer cards big enough. Galacta into basically anything. This is power creep. Like a base 3 honestly doesn't need to be bigger than Gladiator in Marvel Snap. Like, we've all played against a lot of Gladiator, right? Like, Gladiator is a very common card. I think that, like, again, I don't really care that this is that good. My kind of deck does a really good job against this. But this is going to be like a Scourge of the meta type card. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Like, I spent a lot of time underrating the big dumb beat stick cards, and every time one comes out, it's like immediately like, oh, it's a big dumb beat stick. That's one of the best cards. The cheaper, the better. All right. Also, this is the coolest looking of the Hulks, I think.
Yeah. It's nice to have a base card that doesn't look like crap. So,
yeah.
but a certain someone is right. You've never been wrong before, ever. Bullseye.
I haven't.
Bullseye.
Thank you. I'm glad I was perfectly right about Bullseye. A weekend. That's why we review every card like 6 times, sir, because we want to make sure we give the right advice. All right, next up, we got Firehair. Unless anyone has any more Starbrand thoughts. Any more Starbrand thoughts? No? Firehair is a 2/3. When one of your cards is destroyed, this uses that card's on reveal. She's a 2/3. Dare. We're just going to keep going. Dare, Econic.
There, I hate it. I really do not like this card. I'm really concerned about it, especially with Mill already being so prevalent in the meta. I mean, I'm picturing Yondu into Cable into Misery with Firehair in another lane, and all of a sudden 6 cards are gone. I don't know. I'm concerned about this card on release. I think there's a lot of opportunity for her to have a lot of usage, but Mill is the one that I'm just really worried that she may be overly strong in. But you know, we'll see how it pans out.
Oh, this isn't worded to happen once per game at all, huh?
No.
Yeah, it was in my head. That changes things a lot. Ika?
Well, I think I'm assuming that it's gonna be 1 card. It would be a little bit too much if it's not 1 card. But yeah, no, I totally agree with Dare here. It's one of those things where whenever you have a card that you can place on the board, which is on rate for the start, and it's a 2/3. You place this on the board, even if you never use it, you're like, I played a 2/3. There's something to be said about cards like that, where you place it on the board, and you're like, if things go well for me, this card plays for way more than that, right? And you can just forget about it, quote unquote, right? In a way, like Fenris Wolf, right? It's like you place it on the board, you play it a 2/3. If things go well for you, that card plays for way more.
Mm-hmm.
But even that card, you still have to like activate and think about your turn and whatever. This just does the thing. That's crazy. I'm expecting if any of the cards are getting nerfed before they release, I think this is the one that's most obvious to hit at the right now. I think a 2/2 would be a good start, but we'll see.
So, Fire Hair on 2, JTF on 3, 3 1s on JTF, Killmonger on 5. I get 10 million demons. You've got no cards left, right? Because like not like Iceman is hitting 4 times. Like that just seems like a far easier misery.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Like it's again, like I said, any card that you place on the board and you can just forget about it and it will do its thing whenever, wherever. That's a little problematic, right? You don't have to actually put in any sort of thought into this. It's just on the board. It'll just do its thing on its own.
This needs a limit
Yeah, I don't
once
know.
per game. This like needs to be
I'm
the
assuming it's
first
going to be
time
limited.
one of your cards
Yeah.
is destroyed. And then
I'm
I think it's
assuming it
fine.
would
That's
be
how I read
limited.
it in the first place, because it doesn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah, I'm assuming it would probably like whenever the first on reveal happens for that card, it will like turn into that on reveal
Mhm.
kind of. So you can't change the text on it, like Rogue, for example. But
Right.
yeah,
Number one, I think the name is dumb. Like, I understand it. Like, I get it. It's 10,000 BC. I don't
No,
know.
10 million.
Whatever. Or
Because
10 million. Sorry, 10 million BC.
Or 1
My
million?
apologies.
I don't know.
Nobody
I
knows.
thought it was 10,000 BC because that would make sense for like human history. And then
Yeah.
I think it's 1 million, which doesn't make any sense for human history. And it really bothered me. And so we're just going to like move on. Go ahead. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah. Well, 10 million BC, then who even knows at that point? But I think it, like what Hika said, this has to get changed. You guys just said everything that needed to be said. It can't be. It just can't. It can't release like this. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I maybe it just needs to be an activate, just like Fenris for this card. It is your on reveal card. It is easily, you can stop it if you have a Cosmo, because I expect that this will follow the same rules as Cosmo would. In order to use an on reveal, you have to be able to play an on reveal.
I don't think so. Not the way it's worded.
Oh God, I don't know how I feel about that then. Yeah, I don't. If this can bypass Cosmo, and it's an unlimited trigger, yeah, I think that needs to.
It just can't be an unlimited trigger. Like it can't be an unlimited trigger. That's
Yeah.
not a thing that they can do. But like,
Well, we know they can limit per game now.
well, there's plenty of things that are limit 1 per game that we know are limit 1 per game that just aren't written that way. It's when this, or the first time this happens, is limit 1 per game, right? It's just we have our first ever 2 per game.
yeah, you have to feel bad about playing this card, right? Like it has to be like a 2/2 at least.
It can't be a 2/2. If it's unlimited triggers, it can't be a 2/2. You can't have like a 2-drop that triggers 6 times.
1 trigger and a 2/2.
Agreed. And then
Final deal.
And then it's going with Victoria Hand, and I'm just gonna have 4 hoods every game. Like, because I'm gonna play my my hood misery, 3 demons, I guess, right? And like I'm perfectly happy with that being a card. I would play that card. 3 hoods? Like Hood needs a nerf real bad, by the way. Like, holy shit, I thought Hood was gonna get nerfed today, and when Hood wasn't nerfed, I was like, what the hell? Hood like desperately needs a nerf. That card is way too good. I might just need a redesign, because like that card is like borderline a problem. It goes in like everything in 17 different ways, right? Like you want to run Clog, you run Hood. You want to just have a bunch of 1/6s, run Hood. You want to run Bounce, run Hood. You want to run Nico in a deck, throw Hood in. Like, oh, Druckentar's Falcon, that's going to be cool with a lot of... No, it's just a Hood card, really. You just want more demons. Like, Misery's a card, Hood. Like, Hood is too good. Hood's got to go. But like, as long as Hood exists, Fire Hair plus Hood is silly. Like, I like Mill, just like, even if you don't get all the other triggers, right? This only triggers once. I play Hood on 1. And if I'd rather get an extra Hood than an extra demon than an extra Yondu, I play Fire Hair on 2, I play Killmonger on 3, and I have 2 demons. Let's go. 212 is better than 310.
For some example, for the last since the last patch, which that counts for today. Hold on, let's say last 7 days. So yeah, Hood is up there. Is 14% most played, like within the top 10 most played cards right now.
Mm-hmm. And it's not
nuts.
in one of the very best decks. Like, it's in probably a top 10 deck, but I don't think it's in any top 5 deck. It's just in, like, every other deck. I guess Victoria Hand might be top. Victoria Hand is borderline top 5, right? Top 5-ish. All right. We done with Firehair? Which they cannot release as is, we've established now. Thanks, Dare. I didn't realize how good that was. All right.
Having nightmares.
Khonshu, the weird card, starts as a 6/5. When discarded, returns in its next phase. There's 3 phases. When you play it, it's on reveal, resurrect a card you discarded to another location with its power set at whatever Khonshu's power is each time. 5, then 7, then 12. That makes sense? Did I explain that acceptably? So if you discard Khonshu, it comes back as a 6/7. If you discard Khonshu again, it becomes back as a 6/12. And then when you play it, it returns another card that you've discarded. We assume another card. We assume that like Khonshu's not resurrecting another Khonshu, I assume, right? Like to another location with its power. There, what do we think of Khonshu?
I think it's an interesting design. I'm worried he's going to be a little bit overcomplicated. I think that, initially I was like, well, he could be cool in discard, but he doesn't necessarily fit the just standard regular discard package. To me, he plays more like a Hela rather than any other discard. For me, being paired with Moon Knight, essentially wanting to target Gore and then discard Khonshu over and over again, and then having a 12 power Gore to Ghost Rider is probably the play line that I would want to do with him. But overall, I think he's a cool design, and I think he's just one of the ones that I kind of would need to get my hands on it just to feel how clunky he is, because I'm worried he is going to be exceptionally clunky.
I totally get your perspective on that. I don't think he's going to be clunky. I think that actually he's going to be very strong for discard. I think Apocalypse kind of just dips out of every discard deck, even more so than it is now. Like, it's not even being played right now because the Bullseye package is so much more powerful in the discard shell. But I can see that this pops into like some version of a discard deck. I think you're correct that it's not like a typical discard card because you want to resurrect some cards, and those typical discards with a swarm and stuff like that. I mean, like, yeah, sure, you can resurrect a swarm, but you ideally want to resurrect something bigger to get the benefit out of it the most. But I can see how you could build like a sub discard package, with your Moon Knight and things like that. Even like those Black Bolt stature decks, if you remember, those were around for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
This can definitely be very, very powerful. And I'm not sure if it's gonna get like pre-nerfed or anything like that, but I can also definitely see that this becoming like very, very prominent in the meta.
Yeah, this card was built for Mr. Perry Manilow, 100%. I think it's a very interesting design. I think it's one of the more interesting designs in Snap, and I think they need to. Sorry, Perry. They need to nerf discard before this card exists, because I think with this combined with discard, even if you just go with regular discard, this is nuts. Like, this is crazy powerful. But I think it's cool to have, a triple phase card that's not just, discard, return to your hand, like APOC with more power, or Scorn with more, like, those are fine. Those are fine.
Sorry, Nick, you're fired.
Yes, I know.
I
But what I also wonder is what happens. So does he just go through the 3 phases, and is it in this order? Like, it's weird looking at the order of it.
I think it's waxing then full would be my guess.
That sounds like it would be correct. But then what happens if you discard him at full? Like, is he then just fully discarded at that point?
The text on the full shouldn't have the when discarded returns.
Oh, really?
The text, but yeah. It just says on reveal on the Khonshu full.
Really? So if you discard it the third time, it just stays gone then.
So in other words, this is very much a Hela style deck as well. Like, I could see this working with a Hela package very easily.
Yeah, I don't think this is a discard card. I think this is a Hela card.
Yeah. It does not have the when discarded returns it to your next phase. That's
totally
not there on the full.
Appreciate it. Yeah. This is Hela. This is like why they nerfed Hela, right? They like specifically nerfed Hela for this, I'm pretty sure. Much like the Adam Warlock buff is secretly for, they do that a lot, where like we'll be like, that's an interesting change. I wonder like what made them think to do that now, and then a card comes out a month later, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, this is a Hela card, right? Like, because even if you discard it the third time, guess what? Hela's
Come
gonna
back
bring
anyway.
that shit back, right? Like, you just Hela it right back, and then you got an extra 12 power card out of it.
And he can actually just bring Hela back to a 12 power card too.
Yeah, even if you got a 7 power Hela back, right? Like, that seems like all good shit. I know Danish is somewhere smiling, but yeah, Husky Puppies doesn't know why that he just sat bolt right up in bed. But yeah, I don't think this is a classic discard card at all. I think it's fine.
But I don't think it's Hela either.
I think
I think it's somewhere in between.
I think
So-
it's its own thing. Which I mean, I think the other thing is, which I kind of just completely overlooked, which makes him so strong, is the fact that he returns it to any other lane. Like it's not going to overpower one singular lane with whatever he brings back to.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he just opens up his own little archetype. He's not Hela. He's not APOC discard. He's he's Khonshu. It's kind of what my hope for him is.
I agree. I think it's somewhere in
Imagine-
between.
Imagine him being discarded at the end of the game with Dracula, and then Dracula getting that power, and then having another 12 power card just dumped in another lane. Like,
Well,
I think it's going to be
played.
fun.
He has to be played.
He has to be
Dracula
played.
can't discard.
You have to play him.
Oh, okay.
His ability
Oh,
happens
right.
when he's
Yeah.
played,
Okay.
not
I
when
see
he's
that.
discarded.
I see that. I'm blind.
So you could discard Dracula,
Yes.
play him, get it back a 12 power Dracula that then discards another card, but I
That's
don't
right.
think that's
That's fair.
what you're likely to do. I don't know. This card's going to be really good. It's just a new. I do think it's Hela, but I don't think it's the Hela we have.
I'm up for some interesting Hela builds, though. That's the one nice thing about the Hela change, is that it's created some different designs for Hela, and Hela is not as oppressive, and it's more work. You don't just get rid of as many cards as you can per you don't draw Hela, and then hope you draw Hela at the very end of the game.
I think this
I
card really
really
likes. Oh, God.
No, sorry. I really think that this goes in like just like I mentioned, like the Black Bolt stature stuff.
Mhm.
You play Moon Knight, you play Silver what's his name? Silver Samurai. Yeah. And you have Black Bolt. And that's your 3 discarders. And no matter what those cards hit, whatever your Samurai hits, whatever your Moon Knight hits, Khonshu is going to be able to get benefit out of that. Even if you just play Khonshu itself, by that time, hopefully you discarded something else from your hand as well, at least. And that plays for more than above rate for a 6 cost, right?
I think this card wants to be played with Corvus Glaive pretty badly.
Mm.
Corvus
Oh,
discarding
Corvus,
2
yeah, great
randomly.
call too.
Extra energy, you can do this on turn 5, even if it
And
does
ramp
the
it out.
6/7. Yeah.
100%.
Then you can
Good,
do
because I
other
miss
things.
playing Corvus. I haven't played Corvus in forever. Like, it feels like
Well,
Corvus was
play-
everywhere, and then
Play
Corvus
the
just went
Danish
back.
deck.
Yeah.
It's there.
Fair.
Like, Danish is the last person playing it, but like that deck is still really good.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to think of it more like straight up like Ghost Rider in a way.
Yeah, it's sort of Ghost Rider. You play it in a deck with Ghost Rider almost certainly. But again, you know who
Yeah,
else plays
probably, yeah.
Ghost Rider in their Hela deck? I keep saying his name. Danish.
Danish.
Runs Odin too. You can drop an Odin on this if you Corvus just fine, right?
Oh, man.
Bring back another card at 12 power. Have fun. There's a lot of really, really powerful things you can do here. This card's going to be very good. This is also, as chat has noted, the fairest card of the season, I think, which is
It's
absurd.
crazy. Yeah.
The season,
Yeah, still.
some of this shit's going to get nerfed. All right. We are on to April. Holy shit, this is a long episode. Sorry, Dare and Ika. They released, they redesigned March.
Yeah.
And then we're like,
Yeah.
April 2 suckers. Captain Carter is the season pass card of April. She's a 4/2. Ongoing, your other cards in the back row here gain this card's power. There.
I'm excited for her. I think she's going to be really good. I think that initially, before we'd seen her name, a lot of people were assuming that potentially Cap's Sam Wilson Shield was going to work with her. But looking back, I was like, I'm a dummy. She's not a Captain America. She's a Captain Britain. So I don't think that Sam Wilson Shield is going to work with her. But I just really like her package in any sort of ongoing deck, especially if you can get her in the front row and you hit her with Galactus. She becomes a 4/5. I mean, you have 2 cards behind. That's she's all of a sudden 4/15. That math right? I don't know. It's late.
Yeah, sure. We're going to go with it's right.
But I do. I like the design. I like the essentially the mechanism of them recognizing front row and back row now. I think that adds a lot of interesting, I guess, card build that they could do moving forward. So I think she's gonna be an interesting card. I think she's gonna be fun. So,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the back row, front row stuff is an interesting introduction, something fresh, some different way to have powerful cards in the game. Going forward from this card on to the other ones as well, it's they're so subject to change, like we saw with the March cards. Obviously, as it is, this card seems fair and powerful, but fair. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they buff this, nerf this, change this. It'll be interesting.
Her Cosmo, friggin' Iron Man, Onslaught, and then Living Tribunal, another lane. Like, that's insane. I think it provides a really unique take, especially if you can buff it with something like Galacta or Forge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is going to be a card that's going to confuse so many players because
Yeah.
it's not something the Snap has ever done before. If
Nick calling Marvel Snap players stupid, get ready.
Hey, I'm one of them. Do you know how many of the last season's cards I completely misread and judged on a completely wrong basis, like Khonshu? I think it's going to be interesting, but I think it's going to be really only best utilized by some of the top players.
I mean, this is the best card for Steve Rogers ever. Like, ever. Steve Rogers with this card is completely bonkers. Like, Steve is always giving this +2, which means that she's giving +4 to the back row. Like, that's all you need to do, right? I'm not making that up, Ika.
Yeah.
Ika's looking into
No,
like,
yeah, I know. It's just that ongoing's get into so many tricky little mathy problems where it's like, well, then you put Moonstone in here, and then you mystique that, and like, what happens then? Which power goes to who? And
so I think that I think that this and two other cards we're going to talk about this month sort of make that critical mass of ongoing, where I think ongoing without like the Doomish stuff just makes sense.
Yeah,
because like if this is giving X other card plus power, and then that causes like feedback loops of other power for everything else to get, like, everyone, you don't have to buff it before it gets played, even though it's an ongoing. You can play Spectrum on the last turn, and then it's +2 to this card, but +4 to the other cards. Right? They were already getting the +2, now they're getting the extra +2 again. Like, that's insane power.
yeah.
That kind of thing is
I always
wild.
like. It always gets so crazy. Then it's like, what if opponent plays Scroll, and then they mystique the Scroll, and it's like, what are we doing? Even
This is a feedback loop card, so it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Feedback loop cards are always good. This is so part of the reason that Surfer is so good and Spectrum has been so bad is that cards like Brood exist, right? That amplify the benefit Surfer gives for a single cost. That's what Captain Carter is. She's ongoing Brood. All right, let's keep it moving because it's starting to get late. All good. Next up, we have Goliath, who goes in that deck. Goliath is a 2/1 ongoing, +1 power for each ongoing card you have in play. There.
good. I mean, I like we say, ongoing is just. I mean, I think there's a point in time when a lot of people are like, ongoing really needs some help, and I think we're hitting critical mass at this point where ongoing is going to be really, really strong. I like him, especially with a lot of the ongoing packages we currently have. I'm just picturing him even at a Doom 2099 package. Each of the Doom bots coming out, they all have ongoing. They're all buffing him up. Even more gross with Moonstone. If you throw her out there, that's just a lot of power in one lane between the two of them. Yeah, I think he's going to be exceptionally strong card. So kind of looking forward to play around with him a little bit, but a little concerned.
Yeah, this seems very strong. I think the ongoing decks have a little bit of a gap in the 2 costs, right? You play like your Dazzler, and then obviously Sam Wilson now, and then you're like, armor, like. So this definitely fills in that gap by a lot because this is going to be very, very strong. This is your big 2 in your ongoings, and probably subject to change, honestly, because this seems a bit too strong, a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting card. That they have to change some of the cards this season because this is just, you can only Enchantress but so many lanes.
Feedback loops. what I said before. These cards all create feedback loops with each other. They all make each other better, and they're until Sam were no good ongoing 2-drops. Like you were like, I'll run armor and freaking Mojo because those are the 2-drops that have ongoing printed on them, even though they're fundamentally blank in this deck. Well, how about we play cards that have like real power? This is generally speaking going to be like a 2/8. And this is like, so I blame Cam Best for this, just for the record. Cam Best at some point was like, more decks need their own Thena and Angela. Like, we need more 2-drop scalers. And then it was like, oh, word? And like every card they've released since then has been a 2-drop scaler. Like every card. They're like, hey, one for ongoing. Let's do another one for this archetype. Let's do one for that archetype. Let's, like, all right, you want 2-drop scalers? Here's some 2-drop scalers. So great, here's a 2-drop scalar. Every time a new 2-drop scalar comes out, that deck becomes the best thing for a little while. I think this is better than Captain Carter. I think this is better than most cards because 2 is a lot less than 4. That's my math there. I hope you like my math. This card's gonna be really good. Go ahead, Ika.
I just want to say one quick thing about ongoings. I think ongoing decks need to be strong. Because there are, that is the category of a card that has the most counters.
Mm-hmm.
Echo, Rogue, Red Guardian, Enchantress, Scroll. It can be countered very significantly. And I mean, like you said, you can't Enchantress every lane, but you can Enchantress one lane and then Rogue the other. So it's easily targetable. So yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I don't care that it's good. I just think it's going to be great. Also, there's no ongoing, like, even more than those cards, you said it earlier, Super Scroll. Like, Super Scroll is going to be so meta. And that's a Series 3 card, so that's always nice.
Mm-hmm.
They might nerf Super Scroll, honestly, if they want this to be good. And then, like, a month later, like, we heard you, we're putting Super Scroll back. I can totally see them doing that. Kahori, my favorite. Dare, what you got?
I mean, I like her. I think that she's another card for. I mean, essentially, card gen, Devil Dinosaur. I mean, essentially, she's Ares for the card generation deck is kind of what I was imagining her being. Just because it's one of those decks you want to have a bunch of hands or a bunch of cards in your deck. You throw out Devil Dinosaur, you throw out or Mystique him. I like her. I think that she's 4, potentially 12, unless you have some way to repeat the on reveal. So I think she's just a pretty simple card for a deck that I kind of needed some love.
Yeah, for the listeners out there, on reveal, for each card in your hand, give friendly card +1 power. Because somebody forgot to mention. No, this card is
Wait, what did I forget?
cool. No, you forgot to read the text.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, this card's cool. Yeah, I want more designs like this. I want some different ways to approach different things that you do in the game. Like getting your hand big is a thing you do in the game, and I want to be doing interesting things with that, for example. So yeah, cool. I like it.
I like that this is, I think Gilgamesh fundamentally is a good card, but is kind of boring. This, you're having to work, I think, on a couple different ways. Like having your cards buffed is one thing, but making sure you've got a full hand in order to get her +1 power, and that helping other cards like Devil Dinosaur on deck. I think there's some interesting stuff that can happen with her. I wish there was a little bit more flavor. I think there just needs to be something else. But at the same time, I think she's a strong card. Is she going to be exciting, though? Is she going to be the card that you're really excited to play?
She's board wide. She's go wide Sage. Right? Like, more or less. How does her wording compare to Bullseye? Can she hit the same card more than once?
I don't see why she couldn't.
Because if she can hit the same card more than once, she's like actually a problem.
It's
right?
different.
Like,
she Bullseyes afflict that many different enemy cards with -2 power. So yeah, she can hit the. Yeah,
she's a problem. Like, that's +7 power, no matter how many cards you have. If you can keep your hand full, and I assume we've played Victoria hand decks and know how easy it is to just like almost accidentally miss a draw I guess you're gonna always have 6, or usually have 6, not 7, right? Because like she'll be the card you play. But like that's a 4/12. That's one less than Galacta for just playing her. And like, yeah. Shit. I'm playing this in Surfer too. Like just hitting Brood and Shaw seems enough worth it. Like shit. This card's amazing. This is my pick for the best card of this month. Last month is apparently utterly broken, so it's not the best card. But like I think this is probably the best card of April, like in a vacuum. And I'm very excited. I'm gonna play this in Victoria Hand, and I'm gonna perhaps go back to the Dinosaur Wiccan version. Perhaps not. Like I don't know if this needs Dino. Like this feels like a card that like the original Loki design. You're like, I can play Dino in this, and then a week later you're like, I don't need Dino in this. What am I doing with Dino? This card's insane. Like if I will stake anything on that, this card is insane if it releases like this. It needs to at least have the bullseye wording, and then I think it's still insane. But at least you have to do work. All right, seems like we're done with Kahori, who does in fact look a little bit like the Avatar. We've got Infinity Ultron, who is a 5/6 on reveal. Add 2 Ultron Infinity Stones to your hand, and I'm gonna fly through these as quickly as possible. I believe they're data mined as 3 cost, but without power as of right now. Ultron Space is move the lowest power enemy card here. Ultron Reality is add a token here, modify strength to X. Ultron Time is on reveal, put a card from your hand here. Ultron Mind is ongoing. Your on reveal abilities happen twice, not here, please note. Ultron Power on reveal, double Infinity Ultron's power, and Ultron Soul on reveal for each full location, give a card here plus 2 power. So that's, I mean, at most plus 6. That isn't great. What do we think of Ultron, who's a 5/6? There.
So I do to clarify, they're all banished, right? That's
Are they?
why it turns. Yeah, they're not banished.
No, that doesn't say banished.
Oh,
No,
I
don't
was
think so.
thinking
We
that
don't
they were
know,
banished.
really.
So I was
No.
thinking they're
Not
banished.
as
It's
of
like
yet.
these are really strong if they're banished, but if they're not banished, I mean they're still strong. I mean, it just adds a little bit, I guess, of RNG and a little bit of in the moment, I guess, decision making and strategy to it that I generally like cards like this. I mean, it's Kate Bishop essentially, a stronger Kate Bishop, with a lot more, I guess, powerful options than a couple of arrows. I think he's going to be good. I'm really kind of looking forward to him. I guess it does change my interpretation because I was thinking that these were banished. So he's not quite as busted as I thought he was, but still really good. Even though, I mean, essentially, unless you have some sort of ramp, most of these are going to be a turn 6 swing card. So I'm looking forward to him.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be. I mean, if they stick to 3 costs, that's gonna be so interesting. There's gonna be a lot of things to build with that, including Surfer. Surfer would love utility tools. Like Surfer is it's getting to a point where it's very linear, and you're like, okay, I have a couple of tech spots, and then blah blah blah. But then now you could really make your opponent think like, wow, what could I possibly play in this situation? Yeah, it's cool. I'm assuming that there's going to be more info that changes about this card, but it's an interesting new card to have for sure.
Yeah, him being a 5 cost I think is good, but in a ramp deck with Wiccan being able to play him early and potentially being able to, I mean, if you're playing a Wiccan deck and you can find a Grandmaster in there and you haven't had to use him to waste out your turn and you get another 2 of those stones, I don't know. Looks like all of them are 3. I can go through the cost if we want to, but I know it's getting late. So they're all either 1, 2, or 3 costs. 3 is the highest. I thought they were all 3. It looks like with the way they're data mined, they're 3, 2, 3, 1, okay, and 3, 3 are the different breakdowns of the
so they
power.
have different powers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No. I think it's going to be a strong card. Like it's Thanos without having to clog up your deck.
I think it's a ramp card. I think it's only a ramp card. I don't think you can play this on turn 5. The problem with playing it on turn 5 is that then your turn 6 is playing a 3, and like unless you're Surfer, that's generally not what you want to do. Playing 2 3s that you get, and you better hope you get the 2 that go together and that you actually want, and yada 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 yada. Right? Like you get the one that moved the lowest power enemy card here, and they're filling up the whole board. You're like, well, I don't have a last turn play, so you really need to ramp this, I think, to make it good. That said, it's good ramp, or the card that auto ramps that I hate. So there is that. Legendary would be a great keyword, by the way. Oh, I guess I should explain that because not everyone listens to everything everyone says, right? The previous version of Isan had a keyword that was legendary, and everyone's assumption of legendary was you can only have one of these cards in your deck. So, like, if this and Arishem were both legendary, I would be much, much happier.
Agreed. I was
That'd
actually
be
really
nice.
disappointed they got rid of that because I feel like that it could expand their ability to create cards if they knew that there wasn't going to be, combinations that are busted. I.e. Arishem.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Strange Supreme. He's not a doctor anymore. He's a pizza with a lot of toppings. 2/0. Give this +2 power when it merges. After each turn, merge one of your cards that didn't start in your deck into this. Which is a really, really cool take on the classic Strange who brings the highest power card. This one doesn't bring cards, it just eats them. There?
he's an interesting card. I think for me, his immediate inclusion is going to be into Thanos to kind of get rid of the stone problem of essentially filling up the board. I was thinking that maybe potentially he could also be a solution for card gen because I feel like that once you've generated a lot of cards, the board's really full, and then you have a full hand and not a lot of place to play them. So that's kind of an interesting. I don't like it's just +2 power. Then and I'm already rethinking that that's not really actually a good viable use of him. So he's an interesting card, and I guess now at this point, I'm actually just kind of thinking maybe Thanos is his best home at this point.
Yeah, merge stuff is something that I think they're trying to push a little bit more. I think they're trying to expand and explore people to play those cards. I mean, what's her name? Penny is a merge style card, and then we've had Lasher that came out that wants to like get merged and things like that. So I think they're trying to push that a little bit more forward and try to have strategies that do things with merging and things like that. So I don't know what to think of this yet, because we don't really have a existing deck that can. I mean, Thanos, like you said, could be something, but we don't really have the full context of where this pops in. But it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think sorry, Nick. Just my initial impression was that he was going to be gaining their power, and since he doesn't
I
do
think
that,
he
I'm
does.
like, no, he gains just +2.
I think he
should
does.
gain their power and
their power +2
and +2.
Oh, okay, okay. So yeah, I was under the impression he was just gaining +2 power. Okay,
That's nuts. Okay, yeah. With that in there, that's the fact that he gains the power plus merges like it plus gets an additional 2. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, yes, Shadow King can take him down, but I don't know. Like you would think Moon Girl and play him in a lane with a whole bunch of other cards that because Moon Girl cards would count them not starting in your deck too,
sure,
right?
but merges 1 card per turn.
Yeah. So Zabu, get Moon Girl out on 3, get him, I don't know. I think it's going to be very weird, and I think it could potentially be really way too powerful, especially in like an Arishem deck.
I think it's an Isan Arishem card. I don't know if I like it in Thanos because I can't stop it from eating my Power Stone, and I want my Power Stone. But if one card that we've talked about today sucks, I think it's going to be this one. Like, if I can play it on turn 2, like I need to be getting, like I'm not going to have a generated card on 1 very likely. It's really, really good if I get like Squirrel Location or whatever bullshit, right? But like, I'm probably also not going to get a generated card on turn 3 if I'm playing this on turn 2. So it's triggers unless Arishem pops off, right? So I'm triggering it on turn 4, turn 5, turn 6. That's a 2/6. That's reasonable, but now I've got to build my whole deck to get a 2/6 because the power on the other cards existed already. I don't know. That doesn't seem worth it to me. I actually don't like this card at all. This one feels like a lot of work.
Tricky to analyze.
Yeah, tricky to analyze, but like, if my guess is bad. And obviously, everything is a guess until it comes out. Again, I review every card 4 or 5 times, right? Because this is not an exact science. But like, as of now, my guess is this is the Bruce Banner of the month. Not like as bad as Bruce, but in that like this is their second try at a like famous character, and they're just like, maybe it'll be bad again.
Good thing he's only 6,000 tokens too.
Yeah, well, nice and cheap to find out. If he's good in an expensive ass deck, though. Like, all but guaranteed. Hydra Stomper, always happy to see anyone stomp out some fucking Nazis. It is a 3/1 ongoing +1 power for each card you move this game. Dare?
I mean, is this a move player stream? I mean, he seems really, really good, especially if you're good at move. I personally don't play a lot of move, but I imagine, especially with how many times you can throw around Human Torch or Dagger or any of them, you can probably get some pretty decent numbers for a 3 cost. Especially if you're throwing Heimdall down at the end of the game and moving at least 4 or 5 cards. That's, I mean, already a 3/6. So, yeah, I think that he's another card to go into move. I like that he's actually a move card that doesn't need to be moved himself. That can just sit and then get boosted up without actually being a card that needs to be moved around. So I think he's going to be an interesting card for people that really enjoy move.
This cannot come out like that. I cannot be playing against Sizer over and over
He's very
again.
excited, just so you know.
No, this is crazy. This is crazy. I mean, look, I think a scalable card in your hand, like Morbius for discard, is something that move decks have been asking for a while, but this seems a little bit too strong. I think move has gotten to a point where it's very easy to move cards around now, and very easy to already pop off and get huge amount of power. This is a little bit too much. But we'll see. I mean, the context of the meta could change so drastically by that time that this may be something that's required for move decks, but this cannot come out like that. Sorry.
It actually made me realize that I don't think I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen a ton of the Sizer move deck. I know y'all are also in like higher levels, at least Ika and Glazer. I'm not sure about you there, but yeah, I don't think that deck needs another way of getting a ass ton of power. Like I think it can take a little bit of a chill on that, but I like the Nazi stomping aspect.
So the way it's worded, I think like if you move Vulture 3 times, is it still only getting +1 for each card you moved?
Doesn't say each different card.
Yeah, but you only moved the card once. Like the card moved 4 times, but each card moved. It's not each time a card moves.
Yeah,
you see what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm relatively sure that this is going to be bad. That it only works once per move, and then it's only a Heimdall card. Because Heimdall will move your 7 cards, and then this is a 3/8. But again, do I want to do work for a 3/8 at this point in Marvel Snap's lifetime?
I mean, if what you're saying is true, it counts each individual card as just that's it. Like you move that and that's it. Then yeah, I agree with you. But if it's something like however many, then like this is a hidden power, right? Yeah. Like you play move bounce and this is gajillion power and you didn't even expect it.
Yep. No, if this is like, it is insane if it is hidden power, especially because there's numerous locations that just like move a million cards, right? Yeah, my assumption is this is a Heimdall Scream card, not the other type, but I could be wrong. Like, just the wording is funky.
It is.
This one seems to have a lot of funky wording.
Yeah.
I think this is also one of those cards, and especially to Ika's benefit here, of that is going to have a completely different effect in high level competitive play than it is with those of us that are slumming it down and just hit infinite. Because in the hands of Sizer or anyone like that, this is gross. But in the hand of your normal natural player that just enjoys playing move bounce occasionally, it's just going to be okay. And I think that is definitely something to point out.
Unless it's a Scream card. Scream is just fine all over the leaderboard, right? And I genuinely believe that Scream should usually play Heimdall. I know why it doesn't, but I think it should. And just because like your opponent's cards are all in the wrong place, it's really, really easy for Heimdall to take them by surprise.
And this doesn't say your cards. This means their cards as well. So if you Polaris, Magneto, Juggernaut.
Although it does say you moved, so I guess it wouldn't work with locations.
No.
Although, again, they should probably clarify the wording. We can stop with this one because we don't know what the fuck it means.
Yeah, fair.
All right. We're not covering everyone, but I wanted to cover Dum Dum Dugan, which is a card that was data mined because Dum Dum Dugan is clearly meant to go with Goliath and Captain Carter. It is probably Series 4 because it's probably that whatever Deadpool's Diner type mode that comes. It's a 2/2 ongoing. Your cards in the front row here have +1 power. Any thoughts there?
I have one is actually going back to a comment that you guys made earlier about, and especially about with the new, I guess, mechanic of front row, back row. I think it's adding a complexity that myself, I know I'm going to mess up because I'm a dummy, and ordering is going to come to effect. Ordering already is a thing, and now we're going to have to not only think of what's the order we play the cards, but I'm going to have to think ahead. Okay, I want this card in the front row, but this card in the back row. I think it's actually adding a complexity that I really like to the game, even though I know I'm going to mess it up, and I can already picture all the comments being like, "Hey, at 8:26 on this video, you should
I
have
love when
played the
people
card."
timestamp comments.
So I like it. I think it just adds complexity to the game. So I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. This one is more forgiving than the Carter one because you assuming from the text it buffs itself as well, so you can just play it on turn 1 and let it do its thing, and it's a 2/4 basically, and that's not anything incredible. Obviously, it's something that you would want to double with like Moonstone and things like that. But yeah, it seems like just like an event card that it's just hey, here's a 2/4 in ongoing decks and have fun. But yeah, no, I agree with that though. Like, it's going to be interesting to think about. Like, okay, which card do I want to get this plus power, and what order do I place them in, and et cetera, et cetera. That's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I'm on board. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's crazy overpowered because that front row it's hard to figure out that ordering of it. I'm trying to go through it, trying to think of Captain Carter in one lane and then Dugan and another lane, and what do you play along with it? And you have to make sure you get this card down at this right time.
Just play Captain Carter in this in the front row.
I guess that's fair. But then it depends on what you're trying to do with those cards as a whole.
I guess.
Because you need to win more than one lane.
Both of the background. Yeah,
True.
but you're playing a 2 and a 4. That's not like your end game play.
No, agreed. But again, it's an easy fix for Enchantress, or it's an easy snipe for Echo potentially for the other player. Because we know there's going to be a million. I wasn't even thinking about this. Echo was blind in my brain. But yeah, there's going to be a million Echoes and Scrolls and all this other stuff to screw these cards over. So if you are going to stack in one lane, all it takes is an Enchantress to kill that lane, and Cosmo is only a 3 power. Like, sure, he's a potentially 5 power, 3, whatever. Anyway.
Well, I think that this is just yet another card in that synergy, right? Like, it's another good 2-drop. It's going to give Goliath at least +1 power no matter where Goliath is played. It works really, really well with Captain Carter in the same lane on purpose. And again, the 2 cards behind them don't have to be ongoing to get that buff. You can still hit this with all the extra Spectrum-y stuff. If you have this chillin' and then a Doombot shows up there, you just have a slightly bigger Doombot. Like, this is just extra good card. 2/4 good. Like, I don't know. Ongoing doesn't have a 2/4 right now. I mean, it has Sam, I guess. But like, now it has 3 good 2-drops. That's an insane buff. 2s are so important to your curve, and having 3 good 2-drops, this, Goliath, and Sam, is just, it's real. The deck is real, I'm pretty sure, when these cards come out. And it'll do the thing where, like, the week it comes out, everyone will play the tech card, and then a week later, a new card will come out, and everyone will stop playing the tech card. We're about to see that. Just get ready. In 2 weeks, we're going to see the shit out of that with Diamondback. Because that card's going to seem real bad for a week. And then a week later, it's going to feel real broken. So that's what ongoing is going to be next month. It'll be like, oh my god. It'll be like, oh my god, Captain Carter came out in Goliath. Everyone's playing ongoing. It's so broken. And then a week later, Kahori will come out. And everyone will go, oh. And then you can go back to playing that list. It'll be insane. Like, that's the Marvel Snap's circle of life. A Weemoe. Our variant of the week, our very last section, which Nick didn't get to participate in, sorry, but I would bet you one of these 3 is Nick's favorite. Am I correct?
100% it is, yep.
Yeah.
Can we guess which one, though?
It's the water ski.
No, it's not.
No? It's the hip.
Nope.
Okay. Really? Well, there's only one more. What's that last one then? Who picked that one?
The first one, you mean?
Yeah.
I picked that one.
What is it?
The Spotlight variant.
The very first
Now,
one.
the reason I picked that is because, first of all, I knew that everyone was going to pick the Den Hip because it's probably just a better one. But also, from looking at it from like not far away per se, but like quickly, it looks like he's holding a golden desert eagle, and that's so badass.
What is
it
he
looks
holding?
Like he's just
I honestly
heading
thought
up.
it was.
I thought he was until
No,
literally
he's
the
holding
second.
those time things.
Oh, the chocolate bar
second.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it looks like he's just had enough. Like, get off my lawn, kind of shit. So, that's why I picked it. There you go.
Nick, why do you like that one?
Owen Wilson, Tim Robbins variant.
That does not look like Owen Wilson.
Well, more like Tim Robbins, but
Looks nothing like Owen
Old
Wilson.
man Mobius.
No. Dare. Go.
I did the Wave Runner one. Just he's having so much fun. Like even like when someone plays him on you can't be mad at that card. Like I know every time Elysium pops up, my opponent's gonna slap down Mobius on it every single time, and I can't even be mad at that
I did
smile.
that earlier today. The opponent snapped me too. I was like, snap back, thank you.
But yeah, I enjoy the Wave Runner one.
I picked the hip, shocking everyone, I'm sure. But this is probably the best hip in the game, I think. It's got 3 things going for it that no other card does. It is the actual Owen Wilson one. This one looks exactly like him. It's got Alligator Loki on his shoulders, having the grandest of times. Look at that smiling fucking Loki. And then it's got the Loki for President pin on it. This is just a pure W variant. I think it might be the best Dan hip in Marvel Snap, and I love it very much. Even when I build decks that don't run like many hips, so I'm like, I've built 7 all hip decks in a row. I'm like, well, Mobius is in the deck. It's got to be the Dan hip Mobius. Though sometimes he deserves to have fun, so he gets a jet ski. You gotta let him have his vacations.
Yep. No, this one's great. Other than the fact that if you look at it the wrong way, it looks like he just has one tooth hanging out from his mouth. It's not his mouth. It's just one big buck tooth. But
that's even better. That doesn't make it worse. That makes it better. Also, he's got a Game Boy. Sorry, a Game Boy Advance.
Yes. I was going to say an offset Game Boy Advance. I'll take that.
Yeah. Love it.
No. Yeah,
love that variant. All right. Hey, Dare, why should people follow you? What will they get if they do?
Oh God. Okay. I mean, I generally put out 3 videos a week, usually playing some sort of deck. I think the one thing that I kind of try and bring to the community, I'm actually relatively new to Marvel Snap. I've only been playing for about 9 months. I'm not collection complete, so I guess my kind of shtick is that I try to put the decks together that compete on a competitive level, get you to infinite without having most of the, Series 3, Series 4 cards. That's generally just kind of my niche in the community. I like to have fun. I like to have laugh. I really try not to take things too seriously with the game. So in my videos, I'm always usually laughing or having fun and doing something stupid. So that's just kind of how who I am, what my content is. I don't stream a lot, but when I do, I usually just do it on Twitch or on YouTube. So you can catch me live if you do that. But yeah, that's kind of my spiel.
So, I think it's fair to say, embroiled in the Marvel Snap community. Like, I'm fairly like in on the community. It's really hard for me to find a fresh perspective on Marvel Snap sometimes because it's a lot, and again, the game is a lot for me. Dare makes it feel new and fresh and fun in a very real way that very little else in Marvel Snap does. That's why I watch his videos. That's why I enjoy it. It's a good time to watch, and it doesn't feel like the same old game that everyone's talking about in the same ways all the time, including me. Like, I'm propagator number 1. I'm not throwing stones at the rest of the community. I am this is my content that I'm talking about negatively here. Dare's feels new and fresh and fun in a way that the game should be, because games should be new and fresh and fun, and Dare has that in every single video, and I really, really enjoy it, and I'm happy he came on, because you should 1,000% make sure you're following him on YouTube, because y'all heard me yell and scream earlier, right? It's not really Dare's content, it's much more joyful, and we should remember that games are intended to be so, although still fuck Character Master.
Very kind, Laser. Thank you.
Absolutely. Dare, tell us again your YouTube channel name.
YouTube channel name is Dare Plays, D4re, because someone stole the DARE from me. Yeah, Dare Plays on YouTube.
Is Daredevil your favorite character by any chance?
Honestly,
No.
he was not. But I've actually just been reading through the omnibus for whose run is it? And I'm enthralled. Like he immediately has jumped up. I'm loving this Daredevil run that I'm currently reading. So he may very very shortly.
Daredevil has like 4 or 5 different just completely classic runs.
Yeah,
If you're not reading the Frank
Miller.
If you're not reading the Frank Miller, that's like the best. But like the Mark Waid run is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not two of the older like classics. It's one of the newer ones, and I cannot remember who's it. I just finished it, and so it should be on the bookshelf, but it's at my bedside table still. But I'm probably picking up the Miller and Wade one next now. So
Nice.
big fan.
All right.
I just have a quick question before we switch over to Ika. I was looking at your YouTube page, Dare. You have 2 YouTube pages? You have D4re.
Yeah. So
okay.
Wait, what? I didn't know.
So I've been doing YouTube for a long time. I had my main channel, which was essentially what all gamers start with, is just Let's Plays. And I just kind of bounced around. I didn't do a niche. It's essentially my proving grounds of like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do Photoshop. I'm going to learn how to do editing. And so that's just mainly regular gaming. And then I actually started making Marvel Snap content and loved it. And I just was enthralled. And I just decided I'm just going to go just full all in on Marvel Snap moving forward and just leave the old channel behind. So yeah, there is 2 Dare channels out there.
I was so confused. I was like, okay, I need to follow him. First off, I didn't know you streamed on Twitch, but yeah, I came across it. I was like, wait a second, that's the same picture. That's the same person.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to check. My brain is just kind of confused because your YouTube on that old or your Twitch on the old YouTube channel is also different. And I was just like, wait, that doesn't work. So
Yeah.
Cool. You just got a bunch of new followers, according to chat. So good stuff. You 1,000% deserve it.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Plays, I'm almost out of good things to say about you, sir. Go ahead.
Well, unlike Dare, I take things way too seriously, and I have no fun. No. Look, if you wanna come watch as I cook some decks that hopefully sometimes hit meta and sometimes don't, and sometimes fail miserably, come watch me do that live. We listen to chill music. I joke around with chat and things like that. It's a good time. Trust me, it's a good time. Sometimes I have really bad days, and that's fun to watch me completely tank my rank. And then sometimes I have pop-off days where I feel like I'm a god. So if you like that kind of stuff, that's what you should join for and follow me for and watch me for.
Yeah, it's a very, very chill stream for someone as good at Marvel Snap as Ika is. Although he so gets in his own head, it's completely hilarious. But like once every 2 weeks, he breaks the meta. That's a real 3. Like it's no less than like a time and a half a month. Like you just do. Like it's not a joke. Like you don't know you're playing Geek decks, but you're playing Geek decks. Somewhere in your collection, if you have 20 decks, you probably have a deck Geek made. It's just like a fact. You should follow him because like a lot of work. I know it doesn't seem like it, and everyone likes to yell at me. It's just 12 cards. How hard could it be? We all come with the same thing. No, you fucking don't. Like you just don't. I trust me. I know everyone in this fucking community. You don't. Ika does on a regular basis. Like I don't on a regular basis, but Ika does, and it's really, really hard. And a lot of work goes into it. A lot of thoughts. A lot of failing goes into succeeding at a really high level. And Ika does that work, but makes it really joyful and fun and entertaining. And like you should support people who put that level of effort and that level of influence in. And so I'm happy to support Ika. That's why he's on the show all the time. Because like I think that he should have 1 million more followers than he does. Because we all play this game. If you're listening to this, if you don't play Marvel Snap, holy shit, what are you doing with your life? It is 2 hours into a podcast, 2.5 hours into a podcast. But like
we're here for the fish tank stuff.
Yeah.
Well, only
we
Twitch
never
can
got
see
to.
that.
I'm so disappointed. My heart is broken.
Next time.
All right. But given that I just looked at the time and saw how long this has been running, and I would like to let my guests go, please go follow Ika. Please go follow Dare as well, and then make me happy. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Also, I like how he's like, I don't have anything more. I don't even know what more I can say about Ika, and then vamps for like 2 minutes.
Well, I like Ika, even though again, I only ever say it at the end of episodes. Outside of that, you gotta fight because he gives Cam Best his decks before me. So yeah, he'll never be forgiven for that. Watching his video the day after Aries, and sorry, I know we're trying to end, but too fucking bad right now. I'm watching the day after Aries comes out. I'm struggling to find just non-boring Surtur Aries decks. I'm like, fuck, I guess I'll check Cam's video, and there's a fucking Ika list. I'm like, all right, thanks, bud. Really, really appreciate it. Just been fucking spending hours looking. It's not on his Untapped because again, I stalk that. But just send it to Campus. It's fine. Glazer doesn't need decks. No big deal. Just fucking been sharing like 18 decks a week for the past 2 years. Fuck me, I guess. All right.
We're starting to see the real Glazer today. I think.
No, that one doesn't actually bother me in the slightest. That's just me messing with Ika. I know. Not possibly give a shit less about that. But it was great because when I told him on stream, you could see his face go. He his jaw just dropped oh no. It was really, really great. All right. Patreon.com/snapjudgments. We got a Patreon where I'm going to thank people as fast as humanly possible so that we can end this episode. If I click next on the right page. Thank you to Ocularis, Habakkuk, Manager, Burner, Irregardless, LAB, Inc., Iron Frostman, Hota Navarrete, Thinking Poker, Prime Ryan, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Caretix, Lee, Quarry, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Permafrost, The Goat Seeker, Hollowed, Nightmare, Only Fox, Synth, Fat Nick, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Phil Brackovich, Chaplow, Ken Legends of the Danger Room, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Exorcy, Skippy G, Tessica Gamble, Slush Death, King Bros, Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kevsioto, Ludicrous, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., Greg Sterry, Mr. Craig Sterry, Matt V., Ren Wrench, Corwin, John Q., Jim McHugh, Yes Stout, 8th Sage, One Big Man, Milkman, For Real, Cactus Jack, BGs, Good Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Models Mod Supreme, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, Lee, Fazal, Spectrumx, Hoop, MBTB Shannon, Matt H, DJ Mike Hajix, NoFlex, Nick the Greek Geek, Ocularis moved up to the top for this month, Zadrix, the King of Canada, Denman, Falcon, Fothler, Newman, Jonesy, Two Ties, Larmados, The Parking Ducker, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. Everybody wave at the screen so we can end this episode. Bye!